be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle M. Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit iloveLyleBack.com.
Get a refresh with your refund during Maaco's tax season event for expert paint and collision repair. Use our contactless services. It's as easy as book, quote, fix. Better get Maaco. Visit Maaco.com today to schedule your free estimate. Terms and conditions apply.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
touchdown!
Sixers, and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
And welcome inside the Matt Black Kia Studios on a Wednesday. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And, of course, watch the show live on our website, 973ESPN.com. What's going on, everybody, as this Wednesday's here? It's the final game for the Sixers in the first half of the season. It's an interesting there's an interesting thing that could happen tonight with this game. We touched on it a little bit yesterday, but I want to get into it a little bit deeper today. I like this game tonight because they're playing the Jazz. It's the first place team in the East against the first place team in the West. But it shows you how skewed the NBA is to star power, right? This shows you how stars run the league. And it doesn't mean the Sixers don't have stars. They don't have stars the size of Kevin Durant and James Harden. And they don't have stars the size of the Brooklyn Nets. And that's why the Brooklyn Nets are the favorite in the East and not the Sixers, even though the Sixers are right now in first place. The Nets are a half game behind them. But I want you to think about this. The Sixers are playing the Jazz. The Jazz just have it's the Jazz. Yeah, they have, a couple of interesting names on that team, Donovan Mitchell being one of them. But they, being the Utah Jazz, just by the market size you live in, they don't have enough cachet or star power. Can you imagine? I got the first place team in the East against the first place team in the West to end the first half of the season. The winner's going to be the number one seed at the end of the first half of the season. And the game they picked to be on television in prime time tonight is the Brooklyn Nets against a bad to average Rockets team. Right now, if the playoffs were to start, the Rockets wouldn't be in the playoffs. They're the second worst team in the entire Western Conference at 11-22. But James Harden against his former team is more interesting than the number one team in the East against the number one team in the West. Think about that. The NBA business model is, I got the two best teams playing against each other, but that's not what I want to put on television. What I want to put on TV is James Harden against his former team, who happens to be one of the worst teams in the league. And if Brooklyn ends up beating them up pretty bad by 30 or 40 points, we think we'll get more people that are interested in that game than the Sixers against the Jazz. The Sixers against the Jazz, though, is a very interesting microcosm of what the NBA is. If you don't have star players, and look, I can see the guys arguing out there, well, you went through this process to get these star players. Well, you have star players. Joel Embiid is going to, if they gave out an MVP for the first half of the season, and Joel Embiid would most likely, he's going to turn into the Carson Wentz. If Carson Wentz played the whole 2017 season, he would have been the MVP of the league. Well, if they gave out a first half MVP, it would be Joel Embiid. He would win the MVP for the first half of the season. They don't give out a first half MVP, so Joel Embiid isn't going to win that award. But the point is, you drafted a player with the intent that he could possibly be this kind of guy, and yes, you now have that kind of guy. You got Joel Embiid. The problem is the Brooklyn Nets have Kevin Durant, they've got James Harden, they've got Kyrie Irving. They hold a little bit more cachet than, say, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid do, especially at this stage of their careers, where you've got one guy, Kevin Durant, who's won titles. He's won MVPs. You've got Harden, same thing, no titles, but You've got guys who have the cachet already. The Sixers are building towards that. But this will be interesting tonight because the last time they played the Jazz, now who didn't play in that game? It was either Embiid or Simmons. One of the two missed that game out there, and it was Embiid, right? All right, thanks. It was Joel Embiid. And Embiid didn't play in the game out there, and you lost. Simmons, I think, was that the game that Simmons had like 42 points in? It was. All right. So Simmons had 42 points in the game out in Utah. And the difference in that game was they hit a bunch of threes and you just made a bunch of twos. You didn't play particularly poor. They just hit threes and you had twos. Difference in the game. So I'm intrigued by this game for the same reason I was intrigued, and a lot of people were, to see how the Sixers would answer when they had that back-to-back. When was that? Last week they had the back-to-back. And the one night they played the Raptors, and the Raptors defended them one way, and we wanted to see what kind of adjustments the Sixers would make, and they didn't make a whole heck of a lot of adjustments. They just happened to make more shots. In this game, coming off the game you played the other night, where Joel Embiid said afterwards, look, we need to shoot more threes. He acknowledged that. Tonight's a night where you're playing a team in the Utah Jazz that shoot more threes than everybody else in basketball. They pump up the most threes in the game. They're also the best team right now. Now, the Vegas odds may not agree that they're the best team in basketball right now, but make no mistake about it. Right now, they are the best team in basketball. Why? Well, they're the best, one of the best defensive teams. I don't want to say they are the best, but they are one of the best defensive teams in the entire league. They give up 107 points per game. I think that ranks them maybe third, fourth, fifth, somewhere around there. I mean, of the top teams in the West, only the Lakers play better defense than the Jazz do. Scoring-wise, they're one of the best scoring teams in the entire league. In fact, I think only the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks score more points than the Utah Jazz do. So not only are they one of the best defensive teams in the league, they are also one of the best scoring teams in the league. Their point differential is 9 points a game. It's by far the best in the league. Now, I can certainly understand this way of thinking. Well, the Milwaukee Bucks had a similar resume the last couple of years, where the point differential was way better than everybody else's in the league. And that's a fair argument. I'm not sitting here telling you that I think the Jazz are the favorites to win the NBA title right now, but don't make no mistake about it. They are the best team right now, deservingly so, for a couple of reasons. Well, they haven't had the injury problems or the COVID issues, and they got a pretty darn good team. You've got Donovan Mitchell right now. Like, people don't watch the Utah Jazz all the time, but Donovan Mitchell, I'm not saying he's in the MVP conversation, but he's averaging 25 a game. You know, remember the conversations between people back when he won the Rookie of the Year against Ben Simmons, and people were kind of laughing like, I'd much rather. Like, Donovan Mitchell has turned himself into a legit number one player. Now, I don't know that Donovan Mitchell's the best player on the team that can win a championship. I think they might need another guy. But that team out there, think about what they have out there. Donovan Mitchell, I would say Donovan Mitchell is kind of in, he might be, let's see. Would you put Donovan Mitchell in maybe like, I'm trying to think what like stratosphere of player? Maybe a Kyrie Irving? Is he there? Is he like at that level? Where Kyrie is, like when he was with LeBron in Cleveland, he was the best number two that you could find. Like, I think Mitchell would be the best number two, you know, someone on that level where if he's your number two, you're probably the best team in the league. If he's your number one, like Kyrie in Boston, you might be the number one seed, but you might not be good enough to win the whole thing. That's where I look at the Jazz right now. I look at Donovan Mitchell as like the Kyrie Irving with Boston. Very good player, probably better suited to be the number two guy. Clarkson's playing out of his mind out there. I mean, Jordan Clarkson comes off the bench and scores like 18 a night for that team. You saw what he did the night they played Philly about 2 weeks ago. He went bananas. Mike Conley, I'm a fan of Mike Conley. Veteran guy now. He's not the same player that he was in Memphis, but he's a very steady point guard for that team. Bogdanovich. I'm a big Bogdanovich fan. Guy that can shoot, can score. Gobert, defensive guy. Doesn't score a whole heck of a lot. I mean, he still puts up 14 a game, but he's not he rebounds. He blocks shots. He blocks almost 3 shots a game. Think about that. He negates 6 points a game from the other team potentially. Ingles can shoot it. O'Neal can shoot it. This is a pretty good team. So I'm intrigued by what the Sixers bring to the table tonight. Now, here's the problem. All right, you guys know the problem. I know the problem. There's a good possibility that I don't know what's going. I want to say a good possibility. From the last I saw, and maybe I can do a little bit of update on this because the show, the last time I looked at this before the show started was maybe about an hour ago. Tobias Harris, I think, is questionable for the game tonight. Now, if Tobias Harris doesn't play, this game kind of loses a little bit of its luster. It's not like, hey, you're playing the Jazz, you're shorthanded, it's the number 1 seed against the number 1 seed. You would think, okay, but you're playing without really, I don't know, where would you say Harris is? He's your third guy. It's a tough blow. So he is questionable for the game tonight. I did see something this morning. That was about 11:30. So the last time that actually, let me see. I saw this from Pompey, tweeted something out. Let me bring Keith Pompey up on Twitter. And Tobias Harris is listed as questionable for the game. All right, that was 25 minutes ago. All right, so he's questionable for the game tonight. If you don't have Tobias Harris, this game loses a little bit of its luster. And I got to be honest with you, I can't sit here and overanalyze the game that you don't have Tobias Harris in the game. But now Mint Diggity chimes in. He's watching the show live on YouTube. Says finals preview. Hey, you're both the number 1 seeds. If you end up the number 1 seeds in the playoffs, are you the favorites? We talked about this a little bit yesterday, Mint. If both teams are the number 1 seeds in the playoffs, Utah and Philly, and let's say Brooklyn and the Lakers are the 2 seed, who's the favorite? I bet you if you go to Vegas, it's probably not those 2 teams. Murphy Brown's watching on YouTube. Mitchell's one of those small guards Simmons can't lock down. You're right. It's one of the guys. Mitchell is right there with those guys like Fox and who's the guy from Cleveland they just played the other night? Sexton. I was thinking of Speedy Claxton for some reason. Colin Sexton from Alabama. Mitchell's right there with he's 6 foot. He's explosive. He gets to the rim. He is one of the guys that the Sixers will have problems with. And if you watch the game the last time they played, they had problems. If you watch the game the last time they played, the Sixers had big problems with Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson carved them up the last time they played. Mitchell had 24 in that game. Now, that game was wild. It was 134-123. Like I said, the Sixers, it's not that they played poorly. I mean, Simmons had 42 points in the game. Clarkson had 40. Jordan Clarkson had 40 in the game. And Clarkson, he's not like 6 foot, speedy, but he's another undersized guard that can shoot it, but can put the ball on the floor. He had a monster game that night. Now, they're going to need, look, if that game goes the same way, you're going to need 40 from Clarkson to beat them. That's what I can take from now. Keep in mind, in the game in Utah, this is why this game is tough. In that game in Utah, Harris had 36. If Harris doesn't play, you got to make up 36 somewhere. Now, Embiid didn't play in that game out in Utah. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Hit us up on the text board because I think tonight's game, right? I think tonight's game is definitely one of those regular season games that I can at least take something from. A lot of these games, it's hard to take something from the game, because it is what it is. But this is the game, I say it is what it is. I become the Tuesday night in February guy, and I love hearing other people use that term, the Tuesday night in February. And I'm like, hey, I feel like I've rubbed off on people. Tuesday night in February. Now we're into March. We're at the halfway point of the season. The reason I take something from this game is because Brooklyn's playing on the same night you are. You have the marquee matchup, but they're getting the marquee. The winner tonight, if the Sixers win, they will enter the All-Star break as the 1 seed. If Brooklyn wins and the Sixers lose, Brooklyn will then enter as the number 1 seed. And that is not like a monumental thing here. Hey, I was the 1 seed at the break. But most times, the team that's in first place at the All-Star break, the 1 or 2 seed, 80% of the time, 85% of the time, I think it is. It might even be 90. I'd have to go back to do the research again from back when the Sixers were going through the process. The 1 or the 2 seed makes it to the NBA Finals almost 90% of the time. Almost 90% of the time. Yes, Dom. Craig Speedy Claxton Hostra. Yes, Sixers draft choice. You know how they drafted him? That was, if you remember, Danuch. They drafted him because they were trying to trade Iverson, and they wanted to send the message to Iverson that we'll just get another small, quick guy that can do what you do. And then remember, Iverson didn't want to get traded, and that was the whole Matt Geiger, and that whole thing happened. Robbie's checking in. It depends on how well both teams are playing at that time when the playoffs start. Yeah, there's a lot of that. But if you're the number 1 seed, that means you've played well all season long because the Nets aren't going anywhere. They're going to be clicking on your heels. Jamie is watching on Facebook. What's up, Jamie Weir? 76ers have had problems with quick guards for the last 3 quarters. That's why saying Ben can guard 1 through 5 really isn't true. Well, that's not really true either. The difference is, Jamie, see, this is where I would imagine someone like you has a skewed view of Ben saying that he can't guard 1 through 5 really isn't true. It's not true for everyone. But 80% of the ones, it is true. There's only about, and I say 80%, I think is being too kind. There's like 5 of these guys in the league that he has problems with. De'Aaron Fox, Mitchell, the guy in Cleveland whose name just escaping me, Colin Sexton. I know Colin Sexton so vividly from Alabama, but I can't picture him. He's got the tail on the back of his hair, too. I mean, I it's just for some reason, I can't remember his name when I'm talking about him. Kyrie Irving's another one. Trae Young, Kemba Walker, like that kind of guy. So I see what you're saying, Jamie, and I'm not saying that you're off base on that, but he can guard 1 through 5. He just has trouble with the upper echelon of the ones, if that's fair to say. You might not agree. Spencer Dinwiddie, I see you put that up on the screen, Jamie. Thank you for that. Dinwiddie's another guy. He's a small, quick guard. But they don't face those kind of guys all the time. But it is fair to say, and I've said this before, Simmons has problems with that player. De'Aaron Fox, though. You don't see De'Aaron Fox every night of the week. You don't see Donovan Mitchell every night of the week. It's when you face that guy. So he can guard 1 through 5. It is true. Just to take that away from him is not fair. It's just that he has nights where he doesn't. Tommy is checking in on Facebook. What's up, Tommy? He's watching the show live on Facebook. He says this is a measuring stick game. It's a measuring stick game to some extent. It's if you don't have Tobias Harris, though, that's the problem. It's hard for me to say this is a measuring stick, but one of the main parts of my team is not there. Like Harris or not, he's playing well this year. He scored 36 the first time these two teams played. It is a measuring stick game, but part of that measuring stick is not there, and that's the problem. Mint Diggity checks in, watching the show on YouTube. Defense wins championships. I like our chances against Brooklyn. Yeah, defense. The story in that series is defense wins championships. Sixers defense. Their defense needs to be better, though. Their defense needs to be better. When we come back, Sports Bash is live. ESPN.com has 5 trades that they want to see happen. 2 of them include the Sixers. I'm going to read them off for you guys, and I want your opinions on them because I don't like either one of them. And one of them includes Kyle Lowry, and I don't like their trade. And another one includes getting Lou Williams, and I don't know that I like that trade either. So stick around. I'll read those off for you guys coming up. Sports Bash Live. Didn't know Tobias was out tonight. He is questionable. Yeah, he's not out tonight. He's questionable. Bob is watching on Facebook. I like to see that we've got our Facebook audience seems to be getting bigger. Appreciate everybody. Hey, for those of you watching on Facebook, do me a favor and share the show on Facebook so more people can watch the show. Can you do that for me? If you're watching on Facebook, share the show on Facebook, the video, and get more people involved. It's always about growing the audience, having more people, having this Sports Bash family that I love to talk to each and every day. I appreciate all you guys over there. Bob, going to show how vulnerable our bench is. You might be right about that. They played well the other night, which means they're probably down for a down game tonight. And by the way, Murphy Brown puts up a good stat. The last time they played, Mitchell shot 9 for 24 against Simmons. Simmons has done a good job on some of these guys. He has struggled against others. But Paul Hudrick brought it up the other day that Sexton Simmons had a good game against Sexton. It was in this, he explained it and he was right about it in the second half. But overall, Simmons has struggled against the smaller, quicker guards. But Jamie's not all off base, but I think that comment is more, I don't want to give Ben Simmons for being as good as he is. I'm just kind of sniffing that out a little bit. I could be wrong. Maybe Jamie loves Ben Simmons. I have no idea. All right, I'll be back with those trades. Stick around. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Watch the show live. Go to our website, 97.3ESPN.com, and watch the show live. Back with those trades coming up next.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
He scored!
The Flyers are in Pittsburgh to face the Penguins tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
Hey, bro, I don't think I can help you move Saturday. My back is really bugging me. I just don't think I can handle it. Sorry.
Hey, dude, it's John. I know I told you I'd be able to help you move. I think Michelle's really mad at me for something. What's that, honey? Oh, dude, I gotta go. Sorry, man.
Call Clark's Moving and Storage in South Jersey for your next local or long-distance move. Clark's, dependable and always shows up. Call 609-889-0780.
Heard the good news about COVID-19 vaccines? They're here, but you can do more than wait for your turn. Here's how. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't live with. And it's risky to be indoors with them, too. And masks? Well, they protect both the person wearing them and the folks around them. Wear a mask, watch your distance, and make a big difference now.
Learn more about vaccines at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
It's not quite March, but that doesn't mean the college basketball fun has to wait. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is giving all new players the chance to bet $1 on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. And if your team makes it rain, you cash $100. That's right. All it takes is for one three-pointer being hit by your chosen team to turn $1 into $100. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 973 to get your shot to turn $1 into $100 when you bet on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. That's code 973 for new customers only at DraftKings Sportsbook. That's code 973. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. Winnings paid out in 4 $25 free bets. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit ILoveLyleBack.com.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Printing you new signs for the times.
Get back to business with custom printed signs and sales materials. Staples has hundreds of designs to choose from, or just upload your own.
And now at Staples, get 15% off signs, posters, or decals when you spend $75 or more.
Some items printed same day when ordered before 2 p.m.
Save big on custom printing at Staples.
Ends 5/29/21. Exclusions apply. Limit one offer per customer. See store associate or visit staples.com/signage for details.
We know you're spending a lot of time at home, and maybe that home could use a little TLC. Since going to a home show isn't really a thing right now, 97.3 ESPN FM is bringing the home show to you. Local exhibitors have been setting up in a virtual show featuring the latest products and services for your home. Go to 973ESPN.com to find great articles on home improvement tips and trends. Thanks to our friends at Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadlees.net, your trusted source for 3 generations.
Was 2020 full of dings, dents, and scratches? Using your tax refund at Maaco can help. Refresh your ride with your refund at Maaco to undo a little bit of last year. Head to Maaco.com to get a free online estimate today. Better get Maaco.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 97.3ESPN.com.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And don't forget, you can watch the show live on our website, 97.3ESPN.com. It's a very easy thing to do, by the way. For those of you who are like, how do I watch the show? Just go to the website, 97.3ESPN.com, and you will see the link to click on that says Watch the Sports Bash. And then you scroll down, you see the video right there. Then you can open that video up, play it on your television, watch it on your phone, watch it on your laptop. For those of you who are at home or you're in the car, you're heading home, when you get home on your smart TV, just launch the YouTube feature on your television, and you can even talk into your remote and say, watch the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. And there we go. So 5 trades ESPN.com wants to see at the trade deadline. Now, I want to see your guys' thoughts on some of these. I also have a lot of comments that I want to get into here. Murphy Brown brought up the shooting. Josh Stewart is watching on YouTube. Mitchell didn't shoot well against Simmons the last time they played. Mitchell couldn't stop Simmons. That's why he had 42 points. I agree with that, Joshua. And I agree. Like, Simmons overall, like the guy who texted said he can't guard 1 through 5. That's not accurate. He can guard 1 through 5. Those are the guys he struggles with. That doesn't mean he struggles to the point that he can't do it. It's just that he's not the same guy against some of these guys that he is against other point guards who are a little bit bigger. There's a handful of those, like De'Aaron Fox is a really tough one. Sexton is another guy who's tough. Dinwiddie, they've had problems with in the past, although Dinwiddie hasn't done much against him this year. Josh Stewart chiming back in. He says, the Sixers are a good team, make no mistake about it. In the start of the season, we had one of the best bench scoring and defense in the league. Then we got hit with a few players out with COVID. But, Josh, I think we'll all understand this bench is a little too inconsistent for my liking. I said, I have people now acting like I don't like Shake Milton. That's not true at all. I don't have a problem with Shake Milton. My point was he's 24 years old. It's a lot to say to a 24-year-old kid who's never really had this role before. Hey, we want you to be Vinny Microwave Johnson and come in and be a 6-man filling up the basket every single night. He might be able to get you 25 one night, but then the next night he might get you 4. That's the difference. Robbie's checking in, watching on Facebook. He says, you say our defense needs to get better. I say our consistency needs to get better as far as shooting. Well, that's a different thing. You would like better consistency shooting. I would like better consistency shooting. This might just be who they are. I can't demand better consistency from the shooters. Look, I might have a guy who's a 37% shooter, and if he's hitting 37%, he's not bad. He's just a 37% guy. I can't demand that he becomes a 40% guy, or I can't count on that. But what I can count on is the defense can be better. They can be a better defensive team. That takes will. Robbie goes on to say the Nets defense sucks, but yet seem to be the favorite because they have the big three. They can outscore you. The Jazz and Sixers played a game, and the Jazz won that game. They scored 142 points. The Sixers scored, 136. The defense can stink if your offense has 3 Hall of Famers on it. And one of those guys is James Harden and Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving's your third guy. You can have a lousy defense some nights. Can the Sixers keep up with them? That's the difference. Good question, Josh Stewart. Why doesn't Ferguson get playing time? We got him from Oklahoma City. He's very athletic and can defend well. Here's the problem, and I thought about that. Like when they got Ferguson, I thought, okay, here's a nice guy. He's not a waste. Well, he's turned into a waste. And here's really the way that I kind of see the deal with Terrence Ferguson is he is a good defensive player, but is he a better defensive player than Thibault? Probably not. Now, keep in mind, he had missed a couple of games. He's only played 9 games this year. So he missed some games with the COVID situation. Here's the thing. He doesn't shoot the 3 a lick. He is not a good 3. And you would say, well, neither does Thibault. But which player is going to get those limited minutes, Ferguson or Thibault? Thibault's a better defensive player than Ferguson is. Now, you might say, can he get minutes over somebody else? All right, you're going to put him in over Korkmaz, I guess, would be the next guy. Korkmaz fills it up. He has something that he does really well. Who else am I going to give him minutes? You might say, well, why is Isaiah Joe getting minutes over him? Well, Isaiah Joe shoots the 3. So Ferguson, really, he is defensively pretty good, but they have guys who defensively are good coming off the bench in Thibault, and the other guys who aren't good shoot it. Ferguson's not as good defensively as Thibault, and he doesn't shoot it as well as those other guys. That's the difference. So that's why, and Ferguson's not a lousy player. I think if he had to be in the rotation, you'd get something from him. I mean, he was a decent player for Oklahoma City. Last year, he averaged 22 minutes a game. Mostly as a defensive guy. 2 years ago, he played 26 minutes a game. This is a guy who's been in a rotation, and he's just sitting on the Sixers bench. A lot of great interaction on the show today. Enjoying it. 609-403-0973 on the text board. 609-403-0973. And if you have a comment and you're watching the show live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, let us know there. I think this about this game tonight. While we want it to be a measuring stick game, it's exactly what I said the other night. If you beat the Jazz, feel good about it, but don't get too high. And if you get wiped out by the Jazz, be frustrated, but don't get too low. The second half of the season has a murderous stretch coming up, and that's where you can learn more about this team. Now, I want to bring those trades to our attention here. Here we go. These are 5 trades that the writers of ESPN.com who cover the NBA put together. Number 1. Now, this was the trade. The Sixers would get Kyle Lowry in this trade, okay? That's all they're getting is Kyle Lowry. And I'm not stressing it's all they're getting, that they're getting ripped off here. I'm just saying that I don't know that there's enough in this trade here. The Raptors, okay, would get Andre Drummond. This is a 3-team deal, by the way. So you get Lowry. The Raptors get Drummond, Maxey, and then this is where it gets interesting. A first-round pick this year, unprotected. A first-round pick in 2023 that is lottery protected. And the Cavaliers get Danny Green, Mike Scott, Terrence Ferguson, and a second-round pick from you in 2024. So the Sixers essentially are giving up Maxey, 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, Green, Scott, and Ferguson for Kyle Lowry. How does everybody feel about that? I feel like that's – and look, I don't care about giving up first-round picks in the NBA if I'm a good team because I'm usually going to be below the 20-25 line. You know, the Sixers probably aren't going to draft until the late 20s if they're the number 1 seed in the East. So I don't care about giving those picks up. But I'm giving up Maxey, Scott, Ferguson, 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick. All of a sudden, I'm starting to give up a whole lot of volume to get Kyle Lowry. So that was one trade. How's everybody feel about that trade? All right, I'll read it for you again real quick. The deal would be you get Lowry. The Raptors would get Andre Drummond from Cleveland. It's a 3-team deal. All right? And then the Raptors get Drummond, Maxey, and 2 first-round picks, both from Philadelphia, 1 protected, 1 unprotected. And then Cleveland would get Danny Green, Mike Scott, Terrence Ferguson, and then a second-round pick. See, they get all the dreck of the contracts. Cleveland, you take on the money. Raptors, you get all the assets, and you get Maxey. So you're essentially telling Cleveland, you're getting all the money so you can dump Drummond's contract. Green, Scott, Ferguson, you'll get out from under that. You'll have some cap space. Raptors, you get out from Drummond. You'll have Maxey as a young player, and you get 2 first-round picks, possibly. The one is lottery protected. The Sixers aren't going to be in the lottery unless Embiid got hurt and Simmons got hurt, and you were basically had a lost season. And then the Sixers get Lowry. Lowry, keep in mind, he's a pending free agent, and he's going to be 35 years old when everything starts. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Think about that. All right, we'll be back. All right, so here's the thing. Think about that trade. We will also break that down with Paul Hudrick coming up in just a little bit. When we come back, my conversation with former Eagle Quentin Michael. If you missed it on yesterday's show, it was late in the show. We're going to have that for you next. Because he said some very interesting things about this Eagles secondary, the secondary coach, and all his thoughts on Jalen Hurts and the linebackers. It's a very cool conversation. We'll play that for you next. It's brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your local provider who makes it easy to upgrade your home to the most energy-efficient equipment on the market. Learn how to get a free furnace during the month of March only online, broadleaf.net. My conversation with Quentin Michael, former Eagle safety, next.
Turn it on. Leave it on. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
If you're an athlete or live an active lifestyle, aches and pains can be part of the game. That's where Trifecta Therapeutics comes into play. Trifecta Therapeutics is a premier sports rehabilitation physical therapy center located centrally for anyone in South Jersey, right in Glassboro. Their team of the highest skilled docs takes a unique approach to physical therapy and rehab. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a finely tuned athlete, they treat the pros and the Joes. To find out more about Trifecta Therapeutics and how they can help you, check out trifectatherapeutics.com.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
As a minimalist, paying less for insurance is more.
Nice place. Is your house a bubble?
It's a dome. I find corners unnecessary.
At Liberty Mutual, that's how we feel about overpaying for insurance.
But I do miss having shelves.
What would you put on them?
Nothing, obviously.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Homeowners, no need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all, so you only have to call one number, 609-641-6262. Jenkins & Sons has been on the job since 1949. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services, one call does it all. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com. That's 609-641-6262 or jenkinsandsons.com.
Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you.
Well, I started my own restaurant because I love to cook, but that also means a lot of greasy pots and pans. And we can't waste time with endless sink changeovers. So we upgraded to Dawn Professional Pot and Pan.
Dawn Professional cleans 58% more pots and pans per sink than the leading competitor.
Less dish soap, fewer changeovers, and more time doing what we love.
Dawn Professional. It's clean. Upgraded. From P&G Professional.
That meeting's starting at 4. Can I get those projections?
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Karen, do these numbers look right to you?
Like at Mia's research firm. To hit client deadlines, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Want professional tax prep at a great value? Jackson Hewitt has an offer you won't want to miss. For a limited time, we'll prepare your federal taxes for as little as $48 and no more than $179. That's right. Get federal taxes done for you by skilled Jackson Hewitt tax pros in Walmart for as little as $48 and no more than $179. This offer won't last. Offer expires March 15th. Stop by Jackson Hewitt in Walmart and get your coupon code and details. That's Jackson Hewitt, conveniently located in Walmart.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. Town Square has new tools that can help your business stand out and grow. Go to getlocalcustomersnow.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too with Town Square. Be one of the first businesses to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Start growing your business today. Visit getlocalcustomersnow.com. That's getlocalcustomersnow.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Right now, we're going to go to the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. You'll see former Eagle Quentin Michael on the video side. If you're listening on the radio, well, you're missing out. He's up on the screen. He's got some new stuff going on, and I'll tell you what, this is going to be fun.
well off each other. And when you have a player as good as Malcolm, that's not in the secondary anymore. And now you're relying on younger guys. And I still consider Rodney he's a veteran now, but he's still, compared to Malcolm, he's still a younger player. So I feel like it did weigh a little bit on him, because you have to make sure that you're not putting yourself or the secondary in a bad position by constantly blitzing. So I do think that it was a little bit of a mixture of those things as well.
Former Eagle safety Quentin Michael, the debut show tomorrow. It's the Q&A show with Quentin Michael and Jason Avant. It drops at 6 a.m. every Wednesday on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel. Now, what did you think about Mills as a safety last year as opposed to him playing corner?
I've been watching a lot of film lately, and I had always, when he was a little bit younger, I think that the transition to safety would have served him a lot better when he was a little bit younger. I think watching him play last year, he just looked a little uncomfortable at times. It's something that can develop over a couple seasons. It's not something you can expect a guy to go from corner to playing safety and just be great at it right away. It's a lot different than a lot of people think. You're dealing with different angles. You're dealing with linemen. You're dealing with tight ends. You're dealing with a bunch of different things that you're not used to seeing and reading as a safety, as a corner before. So I do think that given maybe one more year of experience, he's going to have a much better season this year than he did last year. I did see a couple of times a little bit out of place, little things, and those are little things that he can work through. And I do hope that they bring him back, and I'd like to see him come back and kind of continue to develop on those little ins and outs of the game.
Now, I'm really interested to get your opinion on this, because I feel like the Eagles' secondary coaching has changed so often. How much of an impact is the secondary coach as to, so many times you'd watch an Eagles game and you'd see the guys not turning their heads. It always seemed like it didn't seem like there was a lot of great technique from, and that could be they just lack talent to some extent, but you're getting a coordinator who has a background in that area. So what impact does the secondary coach have on how a secondary performs?
The secondary coach has a ton of impact. Now, that's not to say he's not out there on the field. You can teach everything that you want, but at the end of the day, the players have to go out there and execute what they're taught. And I think that a lot of times people don't realize, like they say, you kind of rise or fall to the level of your preparation. And so if I am in practice and I'm constantly in positions where I'm playing well, the second that I'm in the position of, like, let's say I got a deep ball on me, right? And I'm so used to making sure that I'm deep. Well, what happens is in the game, if something else happens and I never have tested that ability and I get beat, I might panic, right? And so that's one of the biggest things that people are, and the most difficult things as a defensive back, is when that ball breaks over your head and you hear the crowd go, and it's coming to your guy. That's not a good feeling to feel like. And so that's when you have to practice. Okay, let me relax. Let me keep running with my form. Let me watch his hands. Right when his hands come out, I'll try to get my hands between them. If not, I'm just try to make a tackle and move on to the next play. And so were these things that they were working on? I would assume they were working on these things, but at the end of the day, the players are the ones out there that have to go out there and execute.
All right, so this is another interesting question that I want to hear from a guy like you. Now, you played with the Eagles from 2003 to 10, little different game. The role of the linebacker in the defense when you played, and now what you see the role of the linebacker, because it feels like the Eagles have kind of de-emphasized that position and just said, we'll put whoever we can find there. We like guys who could, like, you might have played linebacker in today's game as opposed to what you did when you played.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not easy finding good linebackers. We had Nigel Bradham who held it down for quite a while, and I don't think our emphasis has been under Schwartz with the front four and the D line that's kind of his most important part of the defense, and it's not easy finding good linebackers, but it's also not easy, when you never try, when you never draft high. So I think we learned that as a defensive team, that you can't lose a guy like Nigel and then try to step up with anybody. You got to have someone that'll step in and help right away. And I just feel like that's another hole that we have. And there's quite a few. So hopefully we can figure out a way to get a couple more athletic guys in there and guys that are kind of, I don't want to talk bad about the guys we have, but just we got to step it up at that position because it's definitely a need.
Well, right. I mean, you get a guy like Jeremiah Trotter who's like 260 pounds playing linebacker. That guy doesn't have a position anymore on defense.
Yeah,
and Jeremiah was a tremendous player. That in today's game, where does he fit in?
Right. Well, even when he was on the team, like a lot of times he would play first and second down, and then third down he'd come off the field. Now he hated it. He absolutely hated it, but that was what we had to do, and that's what he had to do what he had to do, and we were more successful because of it. But I tell you what, man, goal line situations, there was nobody you wanted in the middle of that field other than Troy. Well, he was a complete run stopper.
And conversely, it's not like a guy like, for instance, Nate Geary, who was a safety, and you're saying, hey, we're going to play you at linebacker. Well, now I'm on the goal line, and I have a 230-pound guy playing linebacker. It's a tough spot, like that position. But it feels like it's changing a little bit. Like, so I'll ask you, Quentin, at number 6, would you be like, yeah, you need to get a linebacker?
Yes. Like, so the way I'm looking at the number 6 pick, in my opinion, we have to get the best player available, no matter what position that is. When you have so many open holes on a team, and it's offense, defense, special teams, you've got to get the best player available. And if it's a linebacker, well, you better. If he's the highest on your board at that point, we need him, and then we can build around him. So I'm hoping that we start to help out with the secondary and the back 7 earlier than we have in the past. But listen, we've tried. Howie's tried to address that position in the past. Sidney Jones, we've had a couple of high picks, and it just hasn't panned out. So I don't know what the evaluation is there when we're looking at the defensive back position, but we gotta get a hit there. Absolutely. There's a back 7 somewhere.
All right. Speaking of a hit, would you advocate then taking a quarterback at that spot?
I stick by what I said. If the best player at that spot is a quarterback, you have to. And that's not a slight to Jalen Hurts. He's a great, tremendous player. But I mean, it's a business, and you got to take the best player available. You can't afford to lose out on a player that at the number 6 pick that is worthy of running your franchise.
So if they didn't take a quarterback, do you feel that you saw enough from Hurts to feel that you'd be comfortable with him entering the season?
I personally, yes, I do. Yeah. And the reason why I feel confident with Jalen is he was cool, calm, and collected. He never rattled. He's athletic. He's fast. He can move. He can throw. And he's young. I mean, he's got so much. He's got a high floor, and everywhere he's been, he's dealt with adversity and he's overcome it. And that's the kind of guy that can take you to the next level when times get rough. That's a guy that can put the team on his back when he has to. And so I absolutely 100% would feel comfortable with Jalen Hurts at quarterback.
All right, more like this with Jason Avant. The Q&A show powered by the Inside the Birds guys features Quentin Michael. Jason Avant drops tomorrow at 6 a.m. on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel. The first show will examine Wentz, Hurts, the Eagles' moves. They'll have analysis, tape breakdown, draft talk, free agencies, OTAs, mini camps, and more with the guys. Quentin Michael's been my guest here. Jason Avant. By the way, Jason Avant, so we're at the Super Bowl in Minnesota. It's in the food court there. He was coming on the show. Now, I don't know Jason from Adam. My phone's ringing, and it's Jason Avant, and he says, hey, man, I need you to get me in here. I was like, what? He has no press pass to get in. You had to have a press pass. I have no idea how to do this. So here is this guy who's, played in the NFL and everything. They have no idea. He's asking me for help to get him in. I go down. Yeah, that guy's with me. They're looking at me. This guy's with you? I said, yeah. And that's how I met Jason Avant. Never had met him before in my life, but I got him in at the Super Bowl in the food court in Minnesota.
Yeah, big time. I see you.
Quentin, good to see you, man. Good luck with the show. Well, everybody out there, tomorrow, 6 a.m., the Q&A show. Quentin Michael, thanks, bud.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Quentin Michael. Appreciate him jumping on board, and he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. And when we come back, we've got more good stuff on the way on the NFL. The Buffalo Bills have proposed a rule that could really affect hiring in the NFL. I got the details on that coming up. Good stuff from Quentin Michael. We appreciate him. Plus, we'll get back into the trades. I have the second trade coming, too. That was the one for Kyle Lowry. I've got the second trade coming. So stick around. The Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And don't forget, you can watch the show live on our website, 973ESPN.com. All right, Sports Bash brought to you by Matt Blatt Kia. At Matt Blatt Kia, they want to get you approved today. Matt Blatt Kia, Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Back with more Sports Bash coming up.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Simmons, no-look pass to the corner, Seth Curry, 3-ball, up and good. Baseline tray, what a dish by Simmons.
The Sixers host the Utah Jazz. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
2 chocolate chip muffins coming in. Thank you.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Hey, can someone get that?
Like at Claire's Cafe. To satisfy demand for takeout, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Introducing Fidelity Income Planning. We look at how much you've saved, how much you'll need, and help you build a straightforward plan to generate income, even when you're not working. A plan that gives you the chance to grow your savings and create cash flow that lasts. Plus, you can start, stop, or adjust your plan at any time. Talk to us today so we can help you go from saving to living. Fidelity Brokerage Services, member NYSE SIPC.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit ilovelyle.com.
The best teams start with great talent, but finding the right people can be a challenge. When it comes to hiring for your business, ZipRecruiter can help you find the right candidates for your team fast. When you post a job on ZipRecruiter, it gets sent to over 100 top job sites with one click. And it's so effective that 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the very first day. And right now, to try ZipRecruiter for free, go to ZipRecruiter.com/max. That's ZipRecruiter.com/max. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Here's the good news. Even with high unemployment, there's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today at mycomputercareer.edu. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
The radio home of the 76ers.
Oh, man, get excited.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
All right, hour 2 of the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, free mobile app. Watch the show live on our website, 97.3ESPN.com. What's going on, everybody? Mike Gill with you till 6. Sixers and Jazz tonight. There's so many things I want to touch on. So we were doing the Sixers stuff, and we got a lot of people with that are chiming in. People who are just listening to the Quentin Michael conversation. Josh Stewart says, I agree, best player available. I'm glad you brought this up. All right, best player available. I'm looking at a mock draft that I was just reading in the break there. And in this mock draft, they have the Eagles. All right. Now, I don't know how people feel about this. I am changing my view on this a little bit. I liked it. At first, I was like, I don't think I like it. And the more that I've watched this guy and the more that I've kind of consumed this guy getting ready for draft stuff, I have kind of changed my tune a little bit on this. And that guy is at number 6. This is from The Athletic. This is their latest mock draft. And you could check this out at theathletic.com. The latest mock draft that they have currently at this stage right now is that they have the Eagles taking Kyle Pitts. And I'm interested to see how many people think about that. And in that description there, the tight end, more likely to trade up or down for the Eagles. And they said Pitts is specials. He's a, quote, tight end by designation, but he could do so much more from so many different alignments to help an offense that almost needs his own category. If new coach Nick Sirianni's offense still looks like it did in Indianapolis, he'll take full advantage of Pitt's talents. And I will say this. I think it is kind of like a shock to the people's system to say that they're going to take a tight end in the first round. But I think you have to understand that Kyle Pitts is not just a tight end. Kyle Pitts is kind of, I'm trying to think that who I can compare him to in the league right now, or even in the past, that could make people excited about the skill set that he brings to the table. The problem is there's not a whole heck of a lot of guys who do what he does. Like, he plays quote unquote tight end, but he's not like Rob Gronkowski. Man, I think I could say, Josh, see if you would agree with me on this. If I'm trying to think of the tight end played for Washington recently, got drafted. Vernon Davis. If Vernon Davis was what people hoped Vernon Davis, like if he didn't get hurt, like Kyle Pitts could be like what people thought Vernon Davis could possibly be. Is that a fair assessment of the possibility of what you could maybe expect from? I can't even think of a guy that's like him.
The only guy that comes to my mind that is anywhere close to what Kyle Pitts is physically is Tony Gonzalez. Because,
or like a Gates.
Well, I say Gonzalez because Kyle Pitts is thicker than Antonio Gates. You got to factor in the fact that he is he's already a physically mature guy for his age. He's someone who's already packed on some size. Like Gates has always been a lean guy. I like the Vernon Davis comparison, but the problem with Davis was there was never a time where he lined up as a receiver, like a wide receiver, like a slot or an outside X. Like, remember when Zach Ertz could line up as an X at times? Pitts can do that. Pitts can line up at any position in the offensive formation. He's even lined up at running back. So I say closer to Tony Gonzalez. The best comparison actually is Aaron Hernandez. But I know that kind of might rough people the wrong way because people are like, oh, well, Hernandez.
He's actually a guy that I thought of too, was Aaron Hernandez. The problem with him, I guess for a lot of people, forget what he did off the field, right, is his production in the pros. Because Gronk was there, correct, his production didn't jump off the page at you to make you think that he was this special guy. But if he was the only guy, he may have been the best tight end in the league.
If you could make an amalgamation of Aaron Hernandez and Tony Gonzalez, that's the closest thing you're going to get to Kyle Pitts, in my opinion.
Well, and here's the difference. Aaron Hernandez is 6'1", 245 pounds, playing tight end.
Right,
Kyle Pitts is 6'6", 245 pounds, playing tight end.
But what Hernandez had was he had the versatility. They lined Hernandez up at every place on the field with the Patriots.
Well, yeah, and like I hate to bring this guy. I don't want to say hate for any other reason that I feel like his production maybe doesn't excite you all that much. But if Trey Burton was a superstar, he could play running back. He could play tight end. He was a quarterback in college. I mean, he had the speed. The problem with Burton is, I think the problem that Burton really has had is the injuries have kind of beaten him up a little bit, so he hasn't really been able to play a whole heck of a lot.
Burton's not a big guy. He doesn't have a lot of strength on his body. Kyle Pitts is built like a tank. That's why.
Keep in mind, Burton played on a team that had
two
Zach
other tight ends
here, right? He was kind of like buried here, and then when he went to Chicago, he ends up getting hurt. But if you remember, the first year he was in Chicago, he had almost 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. He was pretty good, but Pitts would be like Burton times 4.
Yeah, if Burton actually had a little bit more size and explosion on his body. Because one of the things that Pitts can do great is that he is somebody that if you put him up against any defensive back, he's going to win that ball.
Now, here's a text message. Pitts is a Calvin Johnson, Darren Waller hybrid.
I understand the desire for the physical comp, but Pitts doesn't have the speed that Calvin Johnson had. People forget how fast Calvin Johnson was.
Calvin Johnson was 6'5", 237 his last year in the league, which is about the same. You got 6'6", 240. He's 6'5", 237. So he has the size of Calvin Johnson.
Just
essentially,
not the speed.
What is Pitts? I don't really care about these things all that much. Like, is he a 4.5? Is he a 4.8? I mean, he's playing quote unquote tight end.
Yeah, I'm assuming that he's probably somewhere between a 4.5 and a 4.6 at the best on like a good day. He's not a guy who's going to burn anybody. Now, obviously, we got to wait for the Florida Pro Day to find out exactly what his number is going to be. But if you go back and watch the Florida games, he wasn't burning anybody who's a defensive back. Their routes with him against defensive backs was him basically turning into like a box out for a rebound guy.
Yeah.
Or if they knew he was going to be lined up on a defensive back, they would have him run like a curl route or something where he would come back, get the ball, and then use his body to get more yards.
So, again, at first, when you're like, you're going to take a tight end at number 6, it kind of makes you feel like, am I really going to take the 6th pick? I have a chance to do this, make this impactful pick at number 6. I got to nail this thing. And then you watch this guy more, and you're like, wow, this guy's something different. Now, Elliot's watching on YouTube, and he says Pitts is Darren Waller. If he just ends up being a Darren Waller, is that worth taking at number 6? I would probably say not a chance.
No.
But I think he's better than that.
Mike, let me ask you this question. When you look at the 6th overall pick, and not to be a specific player, but just give me an idea. Like what?
Oh, wait, Waller had 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns this year. But go ahead.
Just this year, though. He didn't have that production before this year.
Last year he had 1,200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, this year he had 107 catches for 1,196 yards and 9 touchdowns. And last year he had 90 catches for 1,145 yards and 3 touchdowns. If you got that from the 6th pick in the draft, I think you did pretty good.
Okay, so then that answers what I was going to ask you, which is what
I didn't realize Waller had those back-to-back type of seasons. That's pretty monstrous.
Well, part of it also was he was the most targeted player last year for the Raiders. So
146 targets last year, 117 the year before.
Right. So if you're getting that kind of volume, that's one thing. But is Kyle Pitts going to get that kind of volume with the Eagles, considering you have Dallas Goedert out there, you have other players? One of the arguments for the Raiders was they had to force the ball to Waller because of who his supporting cast was around him.
That all plays in, but I think part of this would be that if you have a player like this, you're building your offense around him. And that's why you have so many targets, because it's like when Zach Ertz broke the record, they built that offense essentially around Zach Ertz because why? They didn't have a game breaker. Right. Alshon Jeffries, Torrey Smith. You don't have that number 1 wide receiver that gets all the attention, and Ertz became your offense. They built an offense around the fact that they had Ertz and then later Goddard. If you look at the Eagles receiving leaders in the Ertz era, he was the leading receiver almost every single year. Why?
Right.
They didn't have a receiver, so they built their offense around their best receiving target, which happened to be their tight end. You could essentially say that's the way that I want to take this offense is I want to build this around my two tight ends. You have Goddard and Pitts playing the roles essentially of what? Gronk and Hernandez. That's the model that I would see. If you're drafting Pitts, my thought is the model that you're going after is a Gronk Hernandez type of model. The bigger guy who's the possession receiver in Goddard, although Goddard's a pretty good athlete too.
He's a very good athlete.
Yes, but he's the bigger guy that I think he's the chain mover. And then you have Pitts that you move all over the field, and he's the guy that's the matchup problem. Because if I have Goddard on the field, who am I matching up him with? That's a tough matchup. Now I'm adding Pitts to the mix. How am I matching up with both of those guys? Now, you might say in reverse, I don't have enough speed on the outside, but I have Rieger. And I'm hoping
and you have
that
Hightower.
And I have Hightower's a great name. Watkins is a great name. Now I'm hoping that Rieger in his second year, because of having these two tight ends, it gives him all this room to roam. I'm telling you, the more and more I've watched this Pitts, I am talking myself into he's the pick.
Now, how much do you factor or not factor in that Brian Johnson, who is at Florida with Pitts, might have some sort of impact on this pick because of the fact that he can tell the coach he's look, I know this guy.
It's another point that is well received here is that Brian Johnson was a coach at Florida. He could say, look, this is what we did with Pitts, and we can even do more because of what your personnel is. You already have Dallas guy. I think having Goddard here makes this pick what it is. If I'm a team and Pitts is my number one, and this isn't to say he could be the number one tight end on most teams and beat Travis Kelce, have 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Correct.
I'm not saying that he can't. I'm saying this offense with what they have, to me, if I take Pitts at number 6, I don't know that I can justify that. But because of already having Goddard and the other pieces, look, Rieger's a young guy. I can't depend on him. How can I depend on him more? Don't put as much pressure on him and let him get more one-on-one opportunities. How do I do that? I have two guys that other teams are going to have all sorts of problems figuring out what to do with. Oh, and by the way, I've got Miles Sanders in my backfield too. That's a problem catching the ball out. He doesn't catch the ball as well as I would like him to, but you know what I'm saying. If he's part of the offense, catching the ball out of the backfield, I got Goddard as the, and Pitts, that's not to preclude him from going right down the seam and being a big play guy.
And don't forget also, if your plan in drafting Pitts is to build around Jalen Hurts, what did Hurts do at Oklahoma? He was top 5, not top 10, top 5 in college football in completion percentage, in passer rating, and he was number 1 in passing yards per attempt. So what does that say? That says that he ran a certain style of offense. If you want to get the kind of offense that got the best out of Jalen Hurts that we saw at Oklahoma, you have to believe Kyle Pitts is part of that, because remember, who was the quarterback that Brian Johnson had before he had Kyle Trask at Florida, who's now in the NFL? Dak Prescott.
Sports Bash is brought to you by my friends over at Trifecta Therapeutics. I want to tell you, these guys are the premier sports rehab and performance center, and they're located centrally for everybody. Right in the Glassboro area. It's an easy drive for you guys to get to. They take a unique approach to physical therapy. They got rehab with all their clients, treatment plans to get you feeling better, playing better, and of course, feeling better, staying better. That's all key here, is wanting to go and get better, because the team at Trifecta Therapeutics worked with physical therapy, ACL injuries, rehabs, sports performance training. And let me tell you, the staff there at Trifecta, we're going to have some of these guys on for our spring season injury report. You're going to hear these guys, how they break down the injuries and try to get people back on the right track. They deal with the highest professional and collegiate athletes up there in the Rowan area. The guys that are playing on the club teams, the college teams. Find out more about the incredible team at Trifecta. Visit them online at trifectatherapeutics.com. Inside the Sixers with Hudrick coming up next.
We never stop talking Eagles and NFL. It's football at 4, every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. Now, Town Square Media has new tools that can help your business stand out and grow. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too with Town Square Media. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Start growing your business today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com. That's GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
What's it doing? Designing my new 2021 Nissan Kicks online in the Kicks Color Studio. I give each a special name. This one's electric blue, orange, red, white. I call it the gumball machine. You think it's me?
I feel like you're more of a red velvet guy.
Limitless possibilities. With over 100 million available color combinations and Bose Personal Plus system in the boldly new 2021 Nissan Kicks. Bose is a registered trademark of the Bose Corporation. Color combinations include interior and exterior colors. Customization is an available feature subject to availability at participating Nissan dealers. See dealer for details.
2 chocolate chip muffins coming in. Thank you.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Hey, can someone get that?
Like at Claire's Cafe. To satisfy demand for takeout, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
And now more Straight Talk from Straight Talk. The big wireless companies say they're the only way to get the best coverage.
Because they've got like a gajillion cell towers?
Something like that. But Straight Talk Wireless runs on those same towers, so you get the same great networks for up to 50% less.
I wonder if they're counting that one in Kickapoo, Kansas.
Oh boy. Switch today and get our unlimited plan for just $45 a month with 25 gigs at high speeds and no contract. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
O'Reilly. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get up to a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries. With the power and capacity your vehicle demands, Superstart batteries are designed for lasting performance and consistent starts. Turn the key with confidence with Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Thinking about life insurance? Did you know in just a few minutes you can find the best price from up to 10 price competitive companies for free? You can with SelectQuote. For example, George is 39. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $22 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-461-4545. That's 800-461-4545. 800-461-4545. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
As a minimalist, paying less for insurance is more.
Nice place. Is your house a bubble?
It's a dome. I find corners unnecessary.
At Liberty Mutual, that's how we feel about overpaying for insurance.
But I do miss having shelves.
What would you put on them?
Nothing, obviously.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 97.3ESPN.com.
All right, 3:20 on a Wednesday. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Don't forget Sixers and Jazz tonight. We got a lot of text messages on this Kyle Pitts stuff. I definitely think it's more interesting to kind of get back into. We will get back into it coming up in just a little bit. Stick around. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Inside the Sixers, they play the Jazz tonight. Now, this is an interesting rematch. The last time they played, it was a lot of points in this game. But The Sixers played Zippo defense. No Joel Embiid in that game. Ben Simmons, 42 that night in the game. So let's break it down with Paul Hudrick, 97.3 ESPN.com Sixers Insider. Coming in for a landing is the podcast. Make sure you guys check that out, subscribe, and listen to the podcast for more great Sixers insight and analysis. And he joins us right now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Sixers Jazz tonight. Now, the last time they played, this was a math problem, Paul. It was threes are better than twos, essentially. Do you anticipate that kind of matchup again tonight?
I would hope not, for the Sixers' sake. Although we did see the other night, I think it was New Orleans, I took way less threes than the Jazz and somehow beat them. It's not necessarily a method for success in the modern NBA. And as we saw in that last matchup, I think with Joel Embiid back, and then even recently you've seen, that West Coast trip was kind of funny in that the Sixers didn't take a lot of threes at any point in any of those games. But the last couple of games, you've seen an uptick. Joel Embiid has even said it, that he thinks the team needs to take more. And I think last game was a really good example of what happens when you do. And you saw the advantage they had over the Pacers in that game. So I would expect it. Listen, the Jazz are ridiculous. They take a ton, they make a ton. So they probably will have an advantage. That's just the way the season has played out. But I don't expect the disparity that we saw in Utah. No, I definitely don't.
Well, one thing is for sure. What do we make of this game if Tobias Harris doesn't play? That he had 36 the last time they played. How does that change the dynamic of what you get or what you take away from this game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, Ben Simmons was so brilliant in Utah took away from the fact that Tobias Harris is almost equally as brilliant. Like you said, 36 points, and he was just great in that game. Utah really didn't have an answer for him. He got to his spots on the floor, made all of his mid-range jumpers, was making his three. He just had a great night. So it's tough because, and even that last matchup, it's so hard because Embiid didn't play and the Jazz didn't have Connolly. So right now, the Jazz are coming at you at full strength, pretty much. And so you're seeing them. And so Tobias Harris doesn't play. It's a big hit. I mean, it's 20 points a game you're taking off the table right there. And then it's another option. I think the one thing that Joel Embiid talked about after the Cavaliers game, which I thought was an excellent point, and maybe the way they missed Tobias Harris the most is the fourth quarter. Because, it's so easy to double Joel Embiid in the fourth quarter. And then you're really daring all the Sixers to make shots. You're daring Ben Simmons to get to the rim. And it's just, it's putting a lot on Embiid's shoulders. But when you have Tobias Harris out there, you can run that pick and roll to him. You saw that, the big shots he's hit throughout the season, how big he's been in fourth quarters. He hit the big shot, obviously, against the Lakers to win it. And he's hit several big shots like that and had many big fourth quarters. So I think that's where the matchup's going to get interesting. I think it's going to be close through three quarters. But in that fourth quarter, if Tobias Harris doesn't play, where do the Sixers go if they're going to really aggressively double team Joel Embiid? So, you could take a little bit, but I think it's not a be all end all. Like you can't, if the Sixers get blown out, that's one thing. But if it's a close game without Tobias Harris, I think it says a lot more about how good the Sixers are as opposed to maybe, how that matchup would really go. Maybe, let's say a championship preview or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and when you're back on Friday's show, we will be at the halfway point. If the Sixers win tonight, they will be the number one seed at the midway point of the season. The Jazz will be the number one seed at the midway point. You got two teams that are the number one in the East versus number one in the West, and it doesn't feel like there's as much buzz about the two number one teams playing. I mean, heck, they're putting Brooklyn up against the second worst team in the West. Now we know why that is, but I think both these teams feel a little bit like no one's kind of taking them seriously.
For sure. I would say, especially in the Jazz's case, I mean, they have the best record in the NBA easily. And they're playing great basketball. And like I said, like I alluded to earlier, they're playing the modern NBA, the way the game has gone. What did the Warriors do like during their runs? They hit threes and they played really good defense. And that's what the Jazz are doing right now.
Well, I don't think people realize, Paul, Clarkson's been amazing for this team. Then they have these little, Ingles can shoot it. O'Neal can shoot it. They've got a defensive guy in the middle who's a defensive player of the year. And Mitchell, who I said this earlier, see what you think. Mitchell, to me, he's not the best player on the team that wins the championship. He's like Kyrie Irving level. He's like Kyrie on the Celtics. Like, I'm good enough to get you to the number one seed, but probably, and I think that's why they're not the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. And then not only like you just look at the Western Conference. I mean, you have the Lakers and you have the Clippers. You have teams with MVP caliber players, guys that have won championships, guys that have won finals MVPs. So I mean, it's really difficult to want to go all in on the, and I get it. It's difficult to want to go all in on the Jazz because you haven't seen that playoff success from them. To your point, you haven't seen Donovan Mitchell. I mean, he was pretty darn good in the playoffs last year, but you haven't seen him kind of carry the team and advance them. So I think that's probably where the quote unquote disrespect comes from. And then the Sixers case too. I mean, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, the farthest they've gotten is the second round of the playoffs. They haven't been able to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think for both of those teams, there's a lot of, yeah, this is nice. You guys look really good, but let's see what happens when it gets to the playoffs. But I just think, Mike, to your point, the Jazz, I mean, there's just so many guys that people don't realize kind of how good they are. Mike Conley is like one of the most underrated players of his generation. I mean, he's never going to make an all-star team, but he has been an all-star caliber player for, over a decade. And I think the one thing they have when you look at like just the matchup with them and the Sixers and what the Sixers would kill to have, Donovan Mitchell can create his own offense. Mike Conley can create his own offense. Jordan Clarkson can create his own offense. The Sixers would kill for one guy like that can do it at that level. So I think that's the one thing that separates maybe the Jazz from some other teams. Yes, they shoot threes well. Yes, they play defense very well, but they also have shot creators, and that's huge in the playoffs.
All right, so with that, we talk about shot creators and needing more offense. Let's have Paul Hudrick break down this trade right here, which we're all talking about Lowry. We're all trying to find up creative ways. What about this deal here? The Sixers get Lowry, okay, but they're giving up Maxey, a first-round pick next year, a first-round pick protected in 2023, and then Green, Scott, Ferguson, and a second-round pick in a 3-team deal. They're giving up a bunch to get one guy back. So if that's the way a trade has to happen to get Kyle Lowry, break down this trade, whether you like it or not. And then we have another one that was proposed by ESPN.com that I want to get your thoughts on. But obviously, this is the higher profile player, I guess. I mean, the other player would help this team a lot too, but this is the higher profile, Lowry. What do you think about this deal?
So it's a lot, flat out. It's a lot, but I trust the valuation. I trust a guy like Tim Bontemps who's got sources within the league. That's who came up with that kind of scenario. So I trust that that's the valuation he's hearing that it's going to take. And it is a lot. But I think kind of like what we talked about last time, Mike, I can't remember if it was the last time I was on or the time before that. This is not just an all in and then you're depleted. If you make this, the best case scenario is you make this move and you win a championship and then you re-sign Kyle Lowry. That's the obvious best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you make this move, you don't win a championship, and you don't re-sign Kyle Lowry. If that's the case, you still have Joel Embiid, you still have Ben Simmons, you still have Tobias Harris, and then you have Daryl Morey with some cap space. So the worst case scenario isn't terrible. I think you make a move like this, and yes, I think it puts you and the Nets are right there. You and the Nets are the favorites to match up in the Eastern Conference Finals, to me at least, if you make this deal. And I don't think and listen, I love Tyrese Maxey, Mike. I love Tyrese. I love him from the moment they drafted him. I love this kid, and I think he's going to be a very good NBA player. But this move could make you the team that comes out of the Eastern Conference to make it to the NBA Finals. Right now, as you sit, I don't know that you are that team. But if you make this trade, you will have to be considered one of, if not the favorite to come out of the East. So to me, it's tough. It's a lot, but I would pull the trigger on this. I really would.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the prior conversations we've all had, it was players, but first-round pick next year and then another first-round pick 2 years from now. Now, I don't mind giving up first-round picks if I think I'm going to be a good team. I'm getting picks in the 20s who typically don't translate to serviceable NBA guys. You're just taking their crapshoot players. So I don't mind that. It's just, you're giving up Maxey, 2 first-round picks, then Green, then Scott. Ferguson obviously doesn't do much, but next thing I know, I'm now losing. I guess, I don't know. You're losing 3 guys, 2 of which are kind of in your rotation. Green, obviously. Scott, I guess. How do you feel, Scott? You just wrote an article about Scott. Where do you see him moving forward?
So listen, I like Mike Scott. I think, 2 years ago, what I wrote in that piece was 2 years ago, this guy was critical. We shot over 40% when he arrived here from the Clippers. When you looked at that bench, Brett Brown could only trust 2 guys, James Ennis and Mike Scott. Those are the only two players he can trust off that bench. Mike Scott played through plantar fasciitis in his foot. Listen, he had a bad year last year. He would tell you that. He was not very good last year. This year he's been banged up. He couldn't stay on the court. He's been, both of his knees have given him issues. But I think what you saw in that Pacers game is what he can be. Listen, not a starter, but off the bench, a guy that can hit an open shot. He does a lot of little things that you need. You need little thing, like you have the big guns. You need little things, guys, too. You need someone who's not afraid to be physical, someone who's not afraid to get in another player's face, who will go toe-to-toe with Miles Turner or another kind of big guy, and then also be able to guard TJ McConnell in the same game, that versatility. You need guys like that. With that said, he's not a guy that I'm like, if that's the deal to get Kyle Lowry, then okay. Like, you're not going to hold back Mike Scott just because, like, you know what I mean? To make that deal. But at the same time, he is also a guy there are players you can replace him with. Again, if you make this deal, you still have a trade exception around $8 million. You still have the taxpayer mid-level exception for buyout guys. Maybe you swing a deal for a PJ Tucker, and then after that, Mike Scott who? Because PJ Tucker does that role, but at a much higher, with all due respect to Mike Scott, at a much higher level. So again, this Lowry trade does not preclude you from doing from making other moves to upgrade your bench. And then two, it doesn't deplete you for the future where your hands are tied and you can't do anything in the offseason, because that's just not the case.
Yeah, you would be giving up Maxey, Green, Ferguson, and Scott, 4 players, of which really 1.5 are in the full-time. Maxey is not really in the full-time rotation. Ferguson is not in the rotation, which I don't know why. Ferguson's a nice little player. I guess Thibault's kind of ahead of him, and they use Korkmaz, instead. So, all right, here's the other trade that has been proposed, and it has to do with the Sixers getting Lou Williams here. So they would get Lou Williams and Mike Muscala, who is the reason the Sixers have Maxey. They would just be giving up Terrence Ferguson, Tony Bradley, Mike Scott, and a first-round pick. So would you rather go that kind of route? You're not giving up nearly as much, and you're getting a player like Lou Williams.
I don't know about rather, but I would if the Lowry thing proves to be too rich or just doesn't work out. Maybe Toronto changes its mind. Maybe Lowry changes his mind, decides he wants to stay in Toronto. This is a strong alternative. You get Lou Williams, who you can either start or bring off your bench. You still have Danny Green, so you can just pretty much roll with your same starting lineup. You have Lou Williams and Shake Milton, 2 pretty dynamic guards you could bring off your bench all of a sudden. That makes you more dangerous. Mike Muscala is a fine stretch 5 option. If there is a matchup that Dwight Howard is really struggling with, maybe a more mobile center, you could go to Mike Muscala and he can maybe stretch the floor a little bit and play that kind of role. So I don't mind it. First round pick, it's still a pretty significant, price to pay. But yeah, I mean, I would certainly consider if the Lowry thing is off the table, you get Lou Williams and Mike Muscala. That's upgrades. Those are 2 players that can help you.
Muscala would basically, I guess, turn into the backup stretch 4 that you're looking for. And Scott has we're hoping can do that. Bradley doesn't play a lick. Ferguson doesn't play a lick. You're giving up a first-round pick that you're hoping is 28th, 29th, 30,
right,
even deeper, and you're getting Lou Williams back. So, I mean, I can't – this one doesn't really – I have no hesitation with this one. I agree. No hesitation with the Lowry one. I do them both.
I'm probably on the same page with you. The Lowry one would sting, but I would still probably do it. Whereas the Williams one, I could definitely move on, because you're still with the Lowry one, you're keeping all of your young players, with the Lou Williams one, you're keeping all of your young players. And like you said, you're only giving up a first round pick that's probably not going to be a very good pick. So you could certainly swallow that. And Lou Williams, a guy who can create his own shot. And then also too, Mike, the other thing to consider is when you get to the playoffs, you're not going to need would Mike Scott have even played, because you have 2 guys who kind of play that, you have Tobias Harris, who is going to play 40 plus minutes a night. And then you have Ben Simmons, who's going to probably play some minutes at the 4 as well. So that's the other thing, is your rotation is going to shrink pretty significantly when you get there. So that stretch four role doesn't become as prevalent unless you get a player that just is so good. Again, like a PJ Tucker, because he's so good, you want him out there. You don't need necessarily that stretch four guy, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think that's another thing to factor into all this.
And I brought this. I don't know what you think about Oladipo. Oladipo doesn't shoot it all that well, but he can get a bucket. I would almost like to see him play with the second unit so him and Shake could play together. But Lou Williams would almost I would like to see Shake and Lou Williams. I had the conversation with you. It's not that I don't like Shake. It's just, some nights he's going to give me 25 and some nights he's going to get me 4. And that's just the inconsistencies of being a 24-year-old guy learning his way. Lou Williams, I know, is getting me 15. Whether he's starting, coming off the bench, playing 5 minutes, 35 minutes, he's going to be. I know I can get points from him. And if I have Shake and Lou playing together off the bench, I feel pretty good all of a sudden. But Oladipo, I don't think would really accept that role. You got to give up a lot to get him, and then he probably bolts.
Yeah, see, that would be for me. I would want to know the price tag for Oladipo. I would be interested if the price tag is I don't know, because they got essentially the Rockets got him from the Pacers. The Pacers received a second rounder in Karis LeVert. So what is kind of
LeVert?
Well, sure. LeVert would have been a nice guy to have, absolutely. But I think Oladipo would fit really well so in a deal you'd have to move Danny Green, most likely to get him. So he's going to be your starter at that point. So he'd be your starting two guard.
He's think $21 million, by the way. So he's a lot. You have to give up a lot less to get him in terms
contract wise. Correct. Yeah. But you think of it in terms of this, you plug him in. I think he's a defensive upgrade from Danny Green personally. When he was at his peak, he was one of the better two-way guards in the league. And I think his ability to create, his ability in the pick and roll. I love the idea of him and Ben Simmons in the pick and roll. You talked about the shot, and I hear he has not shot the ball well in Houston. But look at that Houston roster, man. I mean, there's nowhere to go.
Even in his best year in Indiana, I mean, he was like 36, 37. He's not the guy that's
Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry, I mean, he's had a couple years where he's been closer to 40, but that's pretty much his career average right around that too. Not to say, listen, Kyle Lowry is a better player than Victor Oladipo right now. Yes, 100%. But I'm just saying, if you're looking at just from that standpoint of a shooter, him and Oladipo, I don't think are that there's not that big of a disparity as far as a reliable knockdown shooter. I would say you get a little more size with Oladipo as you would Larry, obviously, even though Larry does play much taller than 6 foot. But no, I think Oladipo, and to your point about you could stagger Oladipo and Ben Simmons so that Oladipo and Shake Milton are still kind of leading that second unit, but Oladipo is your starter. So I think there are ways to get creative and do that. And then to me, that also takes care of your need because you don't really need that backup point guard in that sense. Because if you have two of Ben Simmons, Oladipo, and Shake Milton on the floor at all times, you really don't need a George Hill or a guy like that, like a veteran backup point guard. And the same would stand if you got a Lowry. You wouldn't need that guy because of that.
Lou Williams. I mean, Lou Williams can hit the ball too. So all three of these guys make sense. They all have different levels of value you need to give up to get them. So the question is Kyle Lowry and what you have to give up to get him that much better than the lowest option of Lou Williams and what you need to give up to get him? And I feel that Lou Williams kind of fits what I need for less price.
I would agree, but I just think that Kyle Lowry, I would say that Kyle, in my mind,
does that add another layer or level of ceiling on how far you can go?
Yes, I would say yes, because I think of it like this too, Mike. Let's say they get Kyle Lowry here tomorrow, right? You probably don't start him and Seth Curry together as your starting backcourt just because that's small. You probably would put maybe Matisse Thybulle in there and think about that matchup against a team like the Nets in a playoff series. Lowry gets Kyrie Irving, Matisse gets James Harden, Ben Simmons gets Durant. Now, listen, they are three great offensive players. They are going to get theirs. But when you think about how other teams can match up against them, is there a team that could possibly match up better than that trio? I don't think there is in the league. So when I think of it like that, and listen, you don't want to make deals just because of one team, but let's be realistic. The Nets are that team that you're at some point likely going to have to get through if you want to get to the finals. So having the ability to match up with them would be huge. So to me, Yeah, like if you left things as they are, Mike, and let's say you get a Lou Williams and you bring him off the bench, no doubt you are a better team. You have upgraded significantly to me, no doubt about it. But against the Nets, then you're starting Seth Curry probably on Kyrie Irving. Danny Green is going against James Harden and Ben Simmons against Durant. It's, I just think that would elevate that matchup so much more if you were able to get a Kyle Lowry. And I just think Lowry, championship guy, man. He's won a championship. He's tough as hell. He's a bulldog. And just the way I think he would bring those, on top of the skill he has, those intangibles and just that leadership and that toughness, I think would be a great asset.
Which was last week. I don't know if it was you on when we were talking about it, but if I could, and I know Morey has ties, I'd call Ariza. He can play defense. In that series, you have Ariza, Thibault, Simmons, Durant, Harden, Kyrie, and there you go. Like, not that Trevor Ariza is like, I don't know, he's a little older. I don't know if he's the same defensive player, but he was a pretty good defensive player in 2 years ago, and he was with the Rockets. Morey obviously knows him, and he's going to be a buyout guy here in a couple of weeks. So I think that's a name to keep an eye on, too, for the defensive purpose. Now, he might be a guy in the next series you don't use at all. But in that series, that's his role, and boom, you move forward. Good stuff. We can talk about this all day long. And obviously, with the Sixers hitting the break, we'll take a look at the Sixers at the midway point coming up tomorrow and Friday. Paul will be back on Friday. Make sure you check out Coming In for a Landing. Great podcast, great Sixers work from the guys over at 97.3 ESPN.com. All right, Paul, we'll talk to you Friday, man.
Sounds good, Mike.
All right, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. And don't forget, Paul, Kevin, and Jay Blevins, all their Sixers work at 97.3 ESPN.com. All right, coming up, Sixers tonight against the Jazz. We have a lot of comments that I want to get up on the screen. And you guys out there, keep texting 609-403-0973. Call Jenkins for heating, air conditioning, installation service, and maintenance, plumbing, drain cleaning service. 609-641-6440 or JenkinsPlumbingHeating.com. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And don't forget, you can watch the show live on our website, 97.3 ESPN.com. Headlines coming up.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Simmons, no-look pass to the corner. Seth Curry, 3-ball, up and good. Baseline tray. What a dish by Simmons.
The Sixers host the Utah Jazz. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER or visit iloveLyleBack.com.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Printing you new signs for the times.
Get back to business with custom printed signs and sales materials. Staples has hundreds of designs to choose from, or just upload your own.
And now at Staples, get 15% off signs, posters, or decals when you spend $75 or more.
Some items printed same day when ordered before 2 p.m.
Save big on custom printing at Staples.
Ends 5/29/21. Exclusions apply. Limit one offer per customer. See store associate or visit staples.com/signage for details.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-20-20. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
That meeting's starting at 4. Can I get those projections?
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Karen, do these numbers look right to you?
Like at Mia's research firm. To hit client deadlines, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're a first-time buyer, finding your first real home can feel like this.
Hot property. Not going to last long. Multiple offers. 30-year fixed. We need earnest money.
But a realtor has the expertise to strip away all the noise and focus on what really matters to you.
You're going to love this place. Great neighborhood. School is walkable. It even has a huge yard so Henry can practice his penalty kicks.
Finding the right place starts with you and a realtor with the expertise to make sure your voice is the only voice that matters. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Are you one of the millions of Americans who experience occasional bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort? Join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up and see how healthy your gut can feel. Align contains a quality probiotic strain developed by gastroenterologists. It adds more good bacteria to your gut to naturally help soothe your occasional digestive upsets with continued daily usage. This is the time to join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up from the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Sign up at alignprobiotics.com.
We know you're spending a lot of time at home, and maybe that home could use a little TLC. Since going to a home show isn't really a thing right now, 97.3 ESPN FM is bringing the home show to you. Local exhibitors have been setting up in a virtual show featuring the latest products and services for your home. Go to 973ESPN.com to find great articles on home improvement tips and trends. Thanks to our friends at Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleys.net, your trusted source for 3 generations.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, welcome back. Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN live inside the Matt Black Kia studios. I'm Mike Gill. What's going on, everybody, on a Wednesday? Coming up, football at 4. Mosher, the Bills have thrown a new rule in, which is kind of interesting about the hiring process. And the Eagles have thrown a rule in regarding the onside kick. We can get into that. I want to get Mosher's take on taking Kyle Pitts. By the way, headlines right now. They're brought to you by PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets, take your profit. Go to PropSwap.com or download the PropSwap app today. So a couple of things. I got text messages I want to read. Now, this one is interesting. Mike, the same things they say about Pitts is about what they said about Evan Ingram, who was a top 10 pick who's average. Is Pitts much better than Ertz? Keep Ertz, draft a wide receiver or cornerback. One, they're not going to keep Ertz. He makes too much money. That's one problem. He's making $8.2 million. They need to get rid of that money. Ertz is 30 years old, so they're not going to keep Ertz. He's gone. So you say keep Ertz, draft a receiver or corner. That's the difference. You are giving me names of guys: O.J. Howard, Eric Ebron, Evan Ingram, T.J. Hawkinson. All first-round picks who look special in college, who are not worthy of a first-round pick. Kyle Pitts is Hayden Hurst. You are comparing Kyle Pitts to tight ends. That's the difference. I would suggest that he's really not a tight end. This is like Le'Veon Bell saying that he wants to be classified as more than just a running back. That's Pitts. He's more than just a tight end. Now, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, as you write, were not first-round picks and nowhere near the top 6 in the draft. Here's the difference. This is where you have to do a little bit of expanding and evolving. They were not first-round picks. The problem is they have become such valuable players that they have now changed the value of that position. Running backs used to get taken in the first round all the time. Got to get a running back. Got to get a running back. You don't take a running back in the first round all the time anymore, or barely ever anymore, because we now know that the running back position, the value of that position has changed. You just gave all examples to prove why you would consider Pitts at that spot. Because Travis Kelce, because George Kittle, because Darren Waller, because Mark Andrews. Other teams are saying, I want those guys. And you're saying they weren't first-round picks. Well, yeah, they weren't first-round picks, but their production was first-round worthy. So now teams are saying, I want a guy like that. And to get him, I can't wait until the third round. It sounds great in theory to be like, well, George Kittle wasn't a first-round pick. Of course he wasn't. But once he plays to a level that teams are creating an offense basically around George Kittle, he got drafted in the 5th round. You're not getting Kyle Pitts in the 5th round. It's ridiculous. I mean, to make that comment is preposterous. So, yeah, I want George Kittle. I want Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is a guy that, man, they drafted somebody else. Who was Hurst? That they drafted ahead of. They drafted Hurst ahead of Andrews. They got Andrews in the 3rd round. Well, yeah, Andrews, 58 catches for 700 yards and 7 touchdowns in the 3rd round. The problem is those guys have far exceeded the round that they were drafted in. And now offenses are being built around those players. Darren Waller has numbers that are better than most receivers in football. So your point that you're making, I think, is to try to say, don't take a tight end at number 6. It's horrible value. The problem is the guys that you mentioned, Kittle, Kelsey, Warren, Andrews, have played so well, it has now elevated the value of that position. O.J. Howard, Eric Ebron, Evan Ingram, T.J. Hawkinson, they're not worth first-round picks. They're also not as good as Pitts. Now, O.J. Howard, okay, for instance, when O.J. Howard was coming out, now correct me if I'm wrong, he was not ranked by anybody as one of the top 5 players in the entire draft class, right? I mean, he was the 19th pick in the draft. You're trying to compare O.J. Howard, who, by the way, 6'6", 250, Alabama, was a beast at Alabama. A lot of people thought pretty highly of him. People are putting Pitts not, and here's the problem. Again, the guy sending the text message is saying that he's a tight end. He's being listed as a tight end, but he is way more than just a tight end. If you're saying this guy is Zach Ertz, you're not drafting Zach Ertz number 6 overall. But here's the difference. You're also not getting Zach Ertz at the 2nd round anymore. Those guys are moving. The tight end position is evolving into a position that you now are getting in the 1st round. TJ Hawkinson is not a 1st round talent for the most part, but that position is now being valued differently than it was 5 years ago. So TJ Hawkinson, who, by the way, is probably the Detroit Lions' best weapon, 67 catches, 6 touchdowns, 100 targets. He was the 8th pick in the draft. You're talking about Kyle Pitts, who I got to imagine is thought of way higher than TJ Hawkinson was. And Hawkinson went 8th. And you're saying, well, you didn't get enough value for him. If Kyle Pitts catches 100 balls for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns, is that worth the 8th pick is that worth the 6th pick in the draft? Dan from EHT, tight end does seem the trend of Super Bowl appearances. If you got a top 5 tight end, you got a legitimate playoff run. The tight end position is evolving. There's no question about it. Mike, what better safety device for a young, growing talent at quarterback in retooling a team than a dominant tight end? That's another great point. If I'm going with Jalen Hurts, why not give him 2 tight ends that are both very athletic? Look, Pitts is a tight end by designation, but if you go watch him play, you're going to say they're calling this guy a tight end. That's what I'm – after watching him this weekend a lot, that's how I left it. They're calling this guy a tight end. That's how I left it. O.J. Howard averaged 3 catches per game at Alabama. He had 595 yards and 3 touchdowns. Pitts, 770 yards and 12 touchdowns. Hawkins had 760 and 6 touchdowns. Pitts had 5.4 catches. The other 2 guys were in the 3 range. Pitts just way more productive than those guys. All right, football at 4. We'll talk more about this with Mosher on the other side. See how he's kind of feeling about this. It's coming up next.
Sign up now for this year's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Registration is underway now at 973ESPN.com and the free mobile app until the tournament begins. The listener whose bracket has the most correct will win a $500 golden getaway in Atlantic City. Thanks to our friends at GoldenNuggetSports.com. And the top 20 listener brackets will receive a free bet at GoldenNuggetSports.com. So register for the $1 Million Bracket Challenge.
Hell yeah!
Now at 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app. Must be 21 plus to place a bet. Only available in New Jersey. Free bets are for online sportsbook only. Please see website for terms and conditions.
A national championship.
So head to 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app and register for the $1 Million Bracket.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
March is National Nutrition Month, an annual campaign created by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics to help us learn more about making informed food choices and developing healthy eating habits. This year's theme is Personalize Your Plate. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition and health. We are all unique with different bodies, goals, backgrounds, and tastes. One of the easiest steps we can take right now: add some color to our plates. Studies show that only 1 in 10 U.S. adults get enough daily fruits and vegetables. Try this. Make half your plate fruits and vegetables and fill the other half with lean proteins and grains. The goal is 2 cups of fruit and 2.5 cups of vegetables daily. Personalize your plate and you'll be on your way to eating healthier. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
Two chocolate chip muffins coming in. Thank you.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Hey, can someone get that?
Like at Claire's Cafe. To satisfy demand for takeout, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Introducing Fidelity Income Planning. We look at how much you've saved, how much you'll need, and help you build a straightforward plan to generate income, even when you're not working. A plan that gives you the chance to grow your savings and create cash flow that lasts. Plus, you can start, stop, or adjust your plan at any time. Talk to us today so we can help you go from saving to living. Fidelity Brokerage Services, member NYSE, SIPC.
What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening, who's able to hear more than what's being said, and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel truly heard.
I understand. Let's get started.
For advice on everything from laptops to the cloud and solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL.
The NBA and Keyshawn J. Will and Zubin.
You have to be the best of the best to be the face of the league. It just can't be because of what you bring off the court.
Get inside the biggest stories.
They're going to be very cautious with how they bring AD along and bring him back.
Plus, the insiders come here to tell you what to expect next.
There was some swelling. He's going to get an MRI today.
The NBA is on. Keyshawn J. Will and Zubin. Weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.
It's time for some straight talk. Your tax return could look different this year, but you're still going to hear a lot of noise about how to spend it. So when the big carriers tell you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get the $45 unlimited talk, text, and data plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense and tune in to Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Here's the good news. Even with high unemployment, there's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today at mycomputercareer.edu. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
A town Town Square Media Station, serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit! He stumbles! He's down!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher.
My personality is I want to win badly. I want to win more Lombardis for Philadelphia and our fans. We got the greatest fans around, and I will do everything possible.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Sure is. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It drops Mondays and Thursdays during the offseason, 6 a.m. Geoff Mosher and Adam Kaplan are your hosts. You hear them right here during Football at 4. Mosher's in the house today. We have a lot of Eagles stuff that we want to get into. We've been talking Eagles for most of the show. A lot of interaction, a lot of engagement. So we'll bring Geoff Mosher into that conversation as he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline here on the Sports Bash. And Mosher, what's going on, my man?
Mike, how's it going? Great show today, as always.
Thank you. By the way, congratulations to the debut of Q&A. We had Quentin Michael on yesterday's show, and he was very good. Josh said he heard the debut edition this morning, so I encourage everybody to go out there and take a listen to the Q&A with Quentin Michael and Jason Avant. But I want to get your take on, number one, it appears that the first offseason domino is about to happen, as Derek Gunn is reporting that the Eagles look like they're trying at least to restructure the contract of Brandon Graham. Now, this is interesting because Graham did an interview with Zach Berman of The Athletic essentially saying, I don't want to go anywhere. Like, do what we got to do. So it appears that he is willing to change the deal that he just signed a couple of years ago, and that this will be the first step in trying to get out from under this cap problem.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, Mike, thought that Brandon Graham was just going to get lumped in with all of the guys over 30 who have high cap numbers, as in you're out the door because the team has to scale down. But as Adam and I have talked about on Inside the Birds quite a lot, is that there are going to be some guys who are going to be kept, and Howie Roseman's going to have to probably kick the can down the road a little bit with either restructures or extensions to lower cap numbers. And Brandon Graham would more likely be that kind of guy for a variety of reasons. One, he's still a productive player, Mike. Honestly, Brandon, for his age, probably has given you the same kind of year every year for the last 7 or 8 years. He really has not showed any kind of sign of decline in play. So you go into next year confident that even if his play is not what it is, if he eventually loses a step, that he's not going to fall off the face of the earth. This is not, he's not Jason Peters right now. Even Jason Peters would gradually recede till you got to a point where it became a little bit silly to keep bringing him back, even though he would play, comparatively speaking, at a decent level. But Brandon is your best defensive end right now, your best, pass rusher / run stopper. And they don't really have a whole lot of bodies, God bless you, that are meant for being a starter.
I don't think anybody heard that.
I know. I just wanted to show my respects because I can see you now when we do these interviews. But if you think about it, Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett, Barnett I think will also work out with a new contract, and he'll come back. He's been injured a lot. Josh Sweat is a guy that they've always monitored because of his knee injuries prior to coming to the Eagles. So they don't really have like a whole lot of options to start defensive end. So Brandon's a guy that they should keep around.
All right. What's in it for the player to do the restructure? Why would they acquiesce to the team and say, all right, you want to restructure me? Fine. Like, I signed this deal. It was a deal that we agreed upon, the deal I like, and now you're telling me to restructure. If I'm Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox or Brandon Brooks or Lane Johnson, someone they might approach, why, if I'm them, do I agree to do this?
Well, in a lot of cases, and we'll have to see what eventually becomes of Brandon's contract. In a lot of cases, Mike, the restructure is not going to give you any more or less money than you were already going to make. It just changes the bookkeeping, right? So if, let's say, and I don't have Brandon's contract in front of me. I don't know his cap number. I know
he was set to count 17.9 against the cap this season. This is according to Philly Voice.
Sure.
Final year of his deal. And this says that the move, according to overthecap.com, will save the Eagles just under $9 million.
What the move that are they saying the move has been made already, or
I don't know where they're getting the fact that, but they're saying that move, restructuring his deal, will save them just under $9 million. Now it says they could have saved $15 million against the cap by designating him as a post June 1 cut, but only $716,000 they make the June before June 1st. So obviously they don't want to cut the guy; they want him to be here. So does Graham get paid the same amount of money?
Yeah.
Like, check come in every 2 weeks and it's the same money. It's just they take that money and say, realistically, we're paying you in 2024. How does that all work?
So, I mean, without getting into all the minor the details and everything like that, your cap number isn't just your salary. It's your salary that year combined with the amount of roster bonus that you had signed at a different time that is spread out over 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. That's a combination. So if your base salary, let's say your base salary is $10 million and they take $5 million of that, right? And they reinvest it as a signing bonus and spread it out $1 million for 5 years. You're still, that's still money that they're giving you up front. Here's your $5 million, right? But as a bookkeeping purposes, it's now spread out over 5 years. And the team knows that you might not be playing for us in 4 or 5 years. But at that point, your cap hit, if we added dummy years, like extra years to it, at that point, it's $1 million against our $190, $200 million cap, whatever it is, that will be dead money, but is such a small percentage that it was worth spreading it out 3 years prior. And so for Brandon Graham, again, what they're talking about is taking his base salary this year, right, and taking some of it, most of it, who knows, we'll see, and turning that into a signing bonus and spreading that out over years to make the cap number lower. Because as you know, any money over 1 year is going to be a lot different if it's the same money spread out over 3 years or 4 years or 5 years from a bookkeeping standpoint.
Yeah. Now, he had told Zach Berman from The Athletic today, he says, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't know how long, but I know for me, I'm here in Philly. He essentially was saying, if I'm here until the wheels fall off this thing. So he's the kind of guy that you can approach, and he's probably very willing to do this. Is that everybody? If you're saying it's the same money you're getting, it's just a bookkeeping thing, is this something that you can readily do? All right, Brandon Brooks, we need to restructure you. Fletcher Cox, we're going to restructure you. And that they're saying, okay, no problem.
Yeah, and normally they do because at the time of their restructure, they're at a stage of their career where you're just basically telling me I'm making the same money. It's just you guys are spreading it out differently. The risk is on you guys, the organization, because now you're adding money to my cap number down the road that's going to reflect poorly against you if I'm not playing well. But it also does leave them vulnerable per se to being cut earlier, but that doesn't change the guaranteed money that they were going to get. And if you'll notice, I think Fletcher Cox has restructured, I want to say twice since signing his first original big deal. Zach Ertz has restructured. Who else? Lane Johnson, I believe, has restructured once or twice. Yeah. Zach Ertz has restructured. All these guys have restructured most of these guys, the guys who make a lot of money, have restructured throughout their career. And the reason why they did it was because they were making the same amount of money. It was just really a bookkeeping thing.
And the problem they're having then with the restructuring is they don't have this is odd because they don't have enough guys that make enough money to restructure the deals to help them out, because a lot of the money that's putting them over the cap is from a guy who's no longer here.
Well, that is a big part of it. They do have guys, though, that can restructure to continue to save money by spreading it out. Darius Slay is one. Brandon Graham, obviously. Zach Ertz will save them money because he will be gone. I'm trying to think of another high-priced guy. It's possibility that Brandon Brooks could restructure again.
Well, they're the guys. It's Fletcher. It's Brandon
Slay,
Graham,
perhaps.
Yeah, Slay. Lane Johnson. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 of them, but that's what I'm saying. There's
right.
This whole list of guys that you can go boom, 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 boom. Because 30 some million of that over the cap is coming from a guy who's not here anymore.
That is the issue.
So that's where they have this big issue. And again, we've touched on this a little bit. The cap went down because of the pandemic. They did not plan for a pandemic to lower the cap. So where do we think they may have been over the cap in a normal year? Maybe 15 to 20 million bucks instead of 40.
Correct. I mean, this is certainly not something that they saw coming a year and a half ago. That is the risk you take when you do this system of adding dummy years to extend those signing bonuses into the future. I say it's a risk, and someone could say, well, who could foresee a pandemic? That's not a real risk. Fine. It doesn't have to be a pandemic. You just never know, right? I mean, there are a lot of teams that are insistent. We've talked with Andrew Brandt on this, and he used to be the president of the Packers, right? And his ownership and he were insistent that every year they were going to match cash to cap. So you didn't have dead money year after year after year. But some teams like the Eagles and the Saints and other teams have done it and used it to their advantage. So it's not for me to say whether it's right or wrong, but there are risks involved.
There's no question about it. It's definitely a philosophy that the Eagles have used for a long time. This is a organizational philosophy that they have kind of implored. All right. So Brandon Graham looks like he's going to restructure. We would imagine they're going to approach some of these other guys to help to get them underneath the cap here. But is there a guy? I mean, they're already going to release Alshon. They're already going to release Malik, right? Going to release Deshaun. Is there anybody else? I guess Ertz would fit this, like that they would just flat out release because they can't find a trade partner and he makes too much money.
No, I can't see them releasing or trading Darius Slay at this point because they just don't have any bodies at corner. I mean, you want to still field a competitive team. We talked about that last time. The Eagles are not tanking by any stretch of the means. So, but that is a guy that they could potentially restructure as well. He has a cap hit of, I think, 11 to 12, maybe even bigger than that.
Gave him that deal last year when he was traded here.
Right, because he restructured or had the extension. See, that's the thing. The Brandon Graham thing technically might just be called an extension because it's hard to restructure a deal that has just 1 year left, right? So it may restructure the cap of this past year, but it's going to have to be an extension when it's all said and done. If we're technically speaking, I'm trying to think of any other guys that would be. Oh, Marquise Goodwin is a guy who I think he's got a $6 million cap number. So I think that he and the team can probably agree on him coming back at a much different number. You would expect. So that's another place where they can save. And I've told you this before. Like, it wouldn't surprise me, and I wouldn't say this is gonna. I wouldn't even say it's better than 50%. But I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Brandon Brooks was someone they felt that they could get some value for in a trade and moved. I don't expect it, but there's a possibility there.
I would like you and Kaplan to have that conversation. I don't think he agrees with you there.
No, and well, I think we have talked about it. I've gotten him to say, well, all right, I can theoretically see what you're talking about, but I'm not saying it's definite either because I don't know how many people would actually be willing to give up decent value for him at his age, coming off a second Achilles. So,
and look, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying if I'm the Eagles, ESPN did their one daring move. It wasn't all that daring, but I agreed with them that I'm not putting any money or stuff into the offensive line this year. I'm going to see if those guys come back healthy and play. Because my question is this. I have Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson. How many more years do I anticipate playing those two guys? Like, am I thinking about getting rid of those two guys in the next 3 years?
I agree with you. I would not sign on the offensive line. I would draft on the offensive line. They have a very good.
They drafted Driscoll last year. Mm-hmm. They drafted Herbig. They've got Dillard. They've got Mailata. They still have Sayamala. I mean, you've got, like, if your line is back healthy, we've had it, like, you've got a pretty good line with the guys that are back healthy. Plus, the guys who played a lot last year are now sliding into depth positions. The problem becomes if you lose 4 guys again, now you have a problem. But if these guys can play, I would anticipate Lane Johnson's 30 and Brooks is 31, or maybe the other way around. Those guys should be able to play till they're 34, 35. I shouldn't be worrying about those guys that they're at the end of the line right now, should I?
I think you treat them differently because both of them had some major injuries. Lane with the ankle that was twice repaired now. And then, of course, we can't forget that he did have the suspensions from the PEDs earlier in his career. I mean, that obviously always leaves you one strike away from something happening. Brandon, I just mentioned all those injuries, and Jason Kelce at his age. I mean, yeah, I think you can still draft on this offensive line thinking that you're not exactly 100% sure
Kelce's
that
one.
you're going to get, that you're going to get 3 to 5 years out of all of those guys. But I agree with your point on depth. I think that if Jordan Mailata wins out the left tackle job, the fact that if you're holding on to Dillard, that you've got a first-round pick as your top backup, and one of your other backups is a guy in Nate Herbig who played most of the year, not drafted, by the way. He was an undrafted free agent, but still got a lot of experience, showed he can play both center and guard. They have some other guys who got very limited, like Asua Opeta, they may still want to develop. Say that again? Jack Driscoll, of course, right. So that's why I say the Eagles are going to have a bunch of picks, 6, 7, maybe even more before the draft. It's okay if they don't draft him in the first round, but I always think it's a good idea to draft guys like that in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
It's just like when I was talking to Andrew yesterday, he loves Sewell, and he's like, if he's there, you got to take him. And I get it if he's the best player, but to me, I have enough in-house options, and I have so many other problems that I'm just going to say, you know what, for this year, my offensive line, I can't put as much onus on that. I got to fix other problems because I have enough in-house guys to help make that line respectable this year.
I understand that philosophy, but I think it's flawed, to be fair. I think that if you don't stick to your board, you will kick yourself if Penei Sewell becomes a 7-time All-Pro, whatever, and the guy you took was a good player, but not who helped you more immediately, but was not a 7-time Pro Bowl, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like the Ravens do this great. The Steelers draft wide receivers every year. Imagine if they said we're good at in-house. No, they just they get Deontay, they get Juju, then they still take Chase Claypool in the 2nd round, and he looks like he's going to be amazing. Like the really good teams don't use the draft to quote unquote fix what seems like a problem. They just build their team around the best players because those guys will help you compensate for problems. Every team's got problems, Mike. It's just those who have enough talent to compensate for them.
All right. So on this then, Kyle Pitts, the more I watch him, the more I'm enamored by getting this guy in my offense. And one of the reasons I feel like if he was my only guy, like I'm going to draft a tight end and he's the guy, I might have a different philosophy. But the thought of having Goddard as my Gronk and him as my Hernandez helps out Rieger, helps out the rest of my offense. People are looking at Pitts like he's a tight end. I mean, to me, he's just more than that. The more you watch this guy, you're going to be like, I need this guy on my offense. So we got people, texting in, you can't draft a tight end, blah, blah, blah. It's not just him as a tight end. He's more than a tight end. But I think having Goddard is why I like the thought of having him more.
Absolutely. The fact that Goddard can block, Mike, right, means that you can play him in line and still use him as an outlet. It doesn't mean he has to block, but it means you can use that flex spot to either put a slot receiver or an ultimate freak of nature like Kyle Pitts. I did a lot of homework this week on Kyle Pitts. I spoke to 3 different personnel sources around the league. I asked them all about how you would use Kyle Pitts. And I even asked Mike, one of them, if it would make sense to just play him as a full-time X receiver like Mike Evans, because he's kind of built like a Mike Evans, right?
He's got almost the same build as Calvin Johnson.
There you go. So I asked about that, and I got from one guy that you could do that. Now, you would have to teach him a little bit more of that outside wide receiver technique and pad level, but they do think he could play it, but still, regardless, they don't think it's the best position. It's best to use him as a move piece. The thing about Calvin Johnson and Mike Evans is those guys were very accustomed to being able to make big plays down the field, 30, 40 yards where the ball is in the air and they can use their size, their body, their instincts and leverage to get the ball. That's not necessarily Kyle Pitts. He's a guy that is such a matchup nightmare. You can throw the ball to him 40 yards in the air. I'm not saying you can't, but he's more used to over the middle, 10, 15, 20 yards, and then using that explosion and athleticism to get yards after the catch. He's such a matchup nightmare that you wouldn't want to relegate him just to the X or just to the slot. You want to move him all around.
Well,
and
that's where the question becomes, if you have Goddard and him, how do you elect to defend them both? Like, okay, I have Goddard. I can say, I'm going to put It's funny. We had Quentin Michael on yesterday. I was saying if you were in the league, you'd probably be a linebacker. He'd probably be a linebacker in today's game, right? Quite
right.
Well, I have like a guy like Nate Geary defending Goddard. All right, now I have Pitts out there too. Well, who defends him? A safety, where he's just going to blow through that guy, a corner, another linebacker. So now you're going to the second. One of those guys is getting matched up with a linebacker who inevitably can't cover. So the fact that there's two weapons that are quote unquote tight ends, I think makes me like it more than if I'm just getting Pitts. If I'm just getting Pitts at number 6 and he's the offense, I don't think there's enough value there, right?
Well, it depends on how he develops. I mean, George Kittle is no doubt the number one option on the 49ers, and he was hurt last year, but 2 years ago he was, and they went to the Super Bowl, even with kind of like decent wide receivers, but they were just able to make it work because he was so versatile.
Their receivers are like Rieger, where they're not great, but they have a skill set, and they utilize the skill set because of Kittle. They can use them on other ways because of Kittle. Somebody brought up Darren Waller, and I didn't realize, like, I looked at Waller's numbers and was like, my God, 1,200 yards, 10 I mean, like, if you got that at number 6, I think you're pretty happy.
Yeah, you would be very happy. And I agree with you that it's even a benefit to have guys like Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, other explosive in-space guys, Jalen Reagor around him. He's an offensive weapon. And what we know about the Eagles, Mike, and they'll probably deny this even though they actually say it and don't realize it, they value offense way more than defense, right? I mean, Jeffrey Lurie has said a couple of times that in order to win a Super Bowl, you have to have a top 5 offense. He has never said anything about having a top 5 defense. He said top 5 offense. So we know that they value offensive playmaking. And I have to think that, now I don't know the new staff very well, but I still have to think with Nick Sirianni's quotes about being multiple and having matchup advantages, that they would love a guy like Kyle Pitts. And let me tell you this, Mike. I asked a couple of these scouts that I've spoken to the last few days how they would, if I asked them to rank the top 4 pass catchers, meaning I want to know where Pitts, his standing among the wide receivers, which you would take. And one guy gave me this ranking. He said Devontae Smith 1, Kyle Pitts 2, Jamar Chase 3, Jalen Waddle 4. So he actually has Pitts higher than Chase and Waddle, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I've seen, NFL.com, who's their guy over there, did the whole thing. He's got Pitts as his 3rd best player in the entire draft.
Oh, Daniel Jeremiah, I believe.
Correct.
Is that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me he's the 3rd best, that's where he's different from O.J. Howard, Hawkins. Hawkinson went 8th last year, by the way, or 2 years ago. This is where this guy's different. He's not just the best tight end in the class. He might be the 2nd or 3rd best player in the draft.
Here, I did see that. I also saw someone say there's Trevor Lawrence and Kyle Pitts and everybody else. So, I mean, he doesn't drop passes. He runs good routes. He's really a complete weapon. So I think I wouldn't worry about positional as long as you evaluate him as someone who can be on the field for at least 75% of the snaps.
Agree. Good stuff. And that was a good conversation on Kyle Pitts and Brandon Graham and more offseason stuff. Inside the Birds drops tomorrow at 6 a.m. Check out the debut edition, by the way, of Quentin Michael, Jason Avant. It's called Q&A on the Inside the Birds platform.
Hey, you got 1 second? Can I tell you one thing?
Yeah.
Jason Avant dropped this amazing bomb on the first Q&A. He talked about how the team and the staff have a report on Jalen Hurts, on his brain. There was a study on his brain. And what Jason Avant said was that Jalen Hurts has a brain that compares, as far as spatial awareness and recognition, to among the top quarterbacks in the league when it comes to processing. And I thought that was fantastic. I know the Eagles are in analytics, but to be able to have a study of a guy's brain and that his brain compares that favorably made me think, wow, maybe there really is something with Jalen Hurts that would be hard for us to see. Now, Jason said, look, you couldn't see it when he was out there because he's a rookie and it's, he doesn't know what he's doing right now. But he did say, watching practice, he could tell that Jalen Hurts understood, like, when a coverage was going to change right at the snap from, say, maybe a cover 3 to a cover 2 and a blitz to a not blitz, that Hurts was able to process that and pick it up. I thought that was fascinating.
And I don't know where you feel like this. I am 100% against taking a quarterback at 6 or trading up to get one. I am all for giving him the chance, not even giving him this guy has fought everywhere he's been, never handed a job. Here's a time where I think handing this guy the job is okay.
I can understand that sentiment. I'm still, if you grade somebody else as the greatest guy, go for it. But I understand that, certainly.
He is Geoff Mosher. This is Football at 4. Andrew's in tomorrow. Adam's in on Friday. Check out Inside the Birds tomorrow at 6 a.m. The Q&A is up now, so you can listen to that once you're done listening to this show. And you can do that, of course, on the Inside the Birds platform. All right, Moshe, have a good weekend, man.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Good conversation on Football at 4. And, of course, Football at 4 is brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back. Everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to ilovelyle.back.com. Call 856-MAKEOVER for Dr. Lyle M. Back, proud sponsor of Football at 4. If you missed our conversation with Quentin Michael, check out our YouTube channel, and you can watch the show live on YouTube. Yeah, if you're driving around in your car right now listening to us on the radio, we always appreciate that. But you can add another dimension to the show by watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Just go to our website, 973ESPN.com. All right, coming up, the show just starts flying. It's crazy. It just starts flying. It's flying. And I'm having so much fun with you guys out there interacting, commenting, being a part of the show. We talked about 5 trades we want to see in the NBA. We've got all your comments. I'm going to comment on your comments coming up. So keep your comments coming in if that all makes sense. If you're watching the show in the stream, post your comment right now because when we come back, it's all you guys. I will blast through those and comment on all of the comments that are coming in during the commercial break. And if you have a text message, send it now, 609-403-0973. The next segment is all about you guys. So send in your text, 609-403-0973. I'm getting to your texts and your comments, and I'm doing it. Coming up next here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Turn it on. Leave it on. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Good morning, privates! Good morning, Drill Sergeant! I mean, seriously, what a pleasant morning. The sun is shining and the birds are chirping. You seem to be in a good mood today. Astute observation.
He's probably happy because he found out Honey Nut Cheerios can help lower cholesterol. Is part of
shaped like hearts. So, in lieu of the obstacle course today, I propose a nice meditative nature walk. Does that sound delightful to everyone? Yes, Drill Sergeant!
Happy Heart Shapes are back for a limited time. Learn more about Honey Nut Cheerios by picking up a box at your local store.
Broadly's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning makes it easy to upgrade to the most energy-efficient equipment. And for a limited time, Broadly's is giving you a free furnace with the purchase of a high-efficiency AC system. 0% financing and rebates from the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. And its clean energy program mean even greater savings. Don't miss out on Broadly's free furnace frenzy. Certain restrictions apply. Call Broadly's at 609-390-3907 or visit broadleys.net. Your trusted source for 3 generations.
Well, I started my own restaurant because I love to cook. But that also means a lot of greasy pots and pans. And we can't waste time with endless sink changeovers. So we upgraded to Dawn Professional Pot and Pan.
Dawn Professional cleans 58% more pots and pans per sink than the leading competitor.
Less dish soap, fewer changeovers, and more time doing what we love.
Dawn Professional. It's clean. Upgraded. From P&G Professional.
O'Reilly. This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the 3rd time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
What you doing? Designing my new 2021 Nissan Kicks online in the Kicks Color Studio. I give each a special name. This one's electric blue, orange, red, white. I call it the gumball machine. You think it's me?
I feel like you're more of a red velvet guy.
Limitless possibilities. With over 100 million available color combinations and Bose Personal Plus system in the boldly new 2021 Nissan Kicks. Bose is a registered trademark of the Bose Corporation. Color combinations include interior and exterior colors. Customization is an available feature subject to availability at participating Nissan dealers. See dealer for details.
It's time for some straight talk. Tax returns could look a little different this year. So when the big carriers start trying to get you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk Wireless, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get our unlimited plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense. Tune into Straight Talk Wireless. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
2020 was a challenging year, but things are looking up, including the stock market's performance. But will it last? Hi, I'm Ken Moraif, Senior Advisor at Retirement Planners of America. If you are 50 or older, call us today to schedule a free consultation to learn more about our Invest and Protect strategy that is designed to help mitigate the risk of the stock market. Call us today at 800-375-1159 to schedule your free assessment. That's 800-375-1159.
If you're very quiet, you can hear it. The joy, the freedom, the crunch. From 100% whole grain oats. Stay outside longer with Nature Valley Oats and Honey Crunchy Granola Bars. We are better outside.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 973ESPN.com.
Yeah, it's the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And, of course, you can watch the show live at 97.3ESPN.com. Don't forget, it's a Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg joins the Sports Bash tonight, game night tonight. And Kevin McCormick previews the Sixers and the Jazz live from the center tonight at 6:40. He'll lead you right into the broadcast. So check that out tonight. Josh, game night, great job as always. And, of course, Josh has Sports Bash Saturday. Although, is there a Sports Bash Saturday this Saturday? 1 hour power hour. Flyers hockey against the Pens. I thought there was a little something. We got Flyers, Sixers tonight. Flyers tomorrow. Saturday Flyers, then a little college basketball double disco. Sunday, little college hoops, Flyers, the NBA All-Star game. And then next week we get into the conference basketball tournaments. Sixers are back. So it's a good time of the year. A lot of live action right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right. So I told you before the break, you send a text 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973, and we will answer all your text messages and your comments and all your questions. 609-573-3776, 609-573-3776. Let me sneak in a quick call. Marcus is on line one. What's going on, Marcus?
Hey, it's been a while, brother.
Yo, my man. How you been?
Yeah, man. It's all right. Monday's still Monday, even on a Wednesday, brother.
I love a Wednesday. I love a Monday. What you got?
No question, man. Glad to see some of the new digs. I actually haven't had a chance to check it out, but keep doing well with the show. Sorry to see bros go, but as you said, wishing him well, and just keep holding it down as you've been, boss. I was proud that you finally got you guys on this Kyle Pitts train. I've been looking at him all year. I mean, the guy was a true stud.
Well, I will say this, Marcus. I like Pitts from watching him, but I can't say that I watch him weekly to say, and then the thought of, all right, do I want to take a tight end at 6? Like, I was intrigued by it, and then I watched him this weekend. Just, hey, I'm going to watch this kid Pitts. I'm going to put on some,
right, you see the highlights.
And then you're just like, all right, this kid's not a tight end.
Yeah, he's not. He was just beasting all over the SEC because they only played their own competition.
He was like watching Shaquille O'Neal feast on centers in the 90s, playing tight end.
He scored, I think, he scored 6 or 7 straight games, but then he got hurt, I think, for 2 or 3. And you could see Florida struggle a little bit. But the fact is that he was just dominant, man. He was dominant all over the field. And the fact that they knew they were going to throw him the ball, but they couldn't stop him was the point of why I said, look, if he can fall to 6, I know everybody was talking about, getting the Heisman Trophy winner and all that. The guy was too small for me. You want somebody to go out there, be bigger than Rager, be that dominant receiver that they kept talking about, Metcalf, who we missed on, and a lot of other people did too. This would be your guy.
Yep.
Although, like being torn, don't even look at a quarterback, but I'm like a corner to settle in on your defense. I'm torn there. I love
Marcus,
it.
I have said I would take, in this kind of order is kind of the way I was feeling a week ago. Now this kind of changes as you do more research. Patrick Surtain is my favorite corner. I know DeCecco likes Caleb Farley. Farley did not play last year, so I didn't get a chance to see him. And that worries me a little bit, especially at that position. Micah Parsons also did not play last year, but I did watch enough of him in Penn State the year before that I feel like he would be a beast for you. So those two guys, if I'm taking a receiver, I like Jamar Chase, and Pitts now is in that equation.
Listen, we're 100% lockstep, man, even if we haven't talked in a minute. It was one of those things where I'm hoping we're at the type of the level in the draft where you just can't screw it up. I know the receiver, you guys went over it a couple of weeks ago where the 10 receivers that they picked in the draft all were just suspect. And I'm hoping at 6, it's a pick no matter where you go that you just can't screw it up. And I know, we've already gone over the Howie things. I've listened to people rate them, and you try to hold on for them. But the fact is that I'm torn as you. We'll find out in a month. But keep watching, man. As far as anybody else out there under the radar, I'm just glad that Pitts is getting his due. I hope he's not getting so much that he moves up to 5 and you miss him.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem, Marcus. And I appreciate the buzz, man. Good to hear from you. He's not just the best tight end in the draft. He's probably a top 5 player in the draft. That's becoming the issue. Is that now, and then go back to the text message that I got before, is, because Kelsey and Kittle and Andrews and Waller are all so good, you could say you didn't have to pick them in that round. But the problem is, because they became so good, the value of that position is now moved up. That I can't get that player in the 2nd or 3rd round anymore. That's why TJ Hawkinson goes in the 1st round. And you might say Hawkinson is not good enough to go in the 1st round or number 8 overall, or Evan Ingram is not. Not everybody is going to be a hit. That doesn't mean Pitts is going to be a hit. Vernon Davis went so high in the draft because he was a freak of nature back when he got drafted. If you remember Vernon Davis coming out of Maryland was like the fastest runner out of everybody. I mean, the guy was a freak of nature, but the problem was he broke down. He just constantly kept getting hurt. He was drafted number 6 overall. Vernon Davis, there you go, tight end, number 6. Went to San Francisco, and he just kept breaking down. I mean, he had a nice career, had a couple seasons, 13 touchdowns. He had 13 touchdowns twice. Just couldn't stay healthy. But it doesn't mean Pitts is going to be a game breaker, but his talent and the vision that you have for him, going to be hard to pass on him. I've seen drafts that had him going to the Jets at 2. I've never seen a mock draft ever that had a tight end going in the top 2. All right, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Some more text messages if you want to send them. We'll continue to answer your questions. Let's see. Let's bring up some of the questions that are coming in during that break there. All right, Jay Koch, if the Panthers want to trade up to our pick, then we drop back at 9, we could still get Pitts adding another second. I don't know that that's possible, Jay. I don't know that Pitts is going to 9. I mean, it's so hard because, like, Hawkinson went 8 last year. I think that's your baseline of, all right, teams are going to draft a tight end now in that position. They will. I got to imagine that every talent evaluator has Pitts rated as a better prospect as TJ Hawkinson. That's just my thought. I'm no scout, but something tells me that most people have him rated just as high. So I don't know that you could do that trade and drop back to 9 and still get Pitts. I'm not against it. if you told me that was your thought, I'm going to move back to 9 in hopes that Pitts is there. And if he's not, I'll just take the best player available. Okay, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't think you do it planning on to get Pitts. Josh is watching on YouTube. I wouldn't take offensive line until the later rounds in the draft because a lot of offensive line was hurt last year. Will be back and healthy. Totally agree with that. I'm not investing money in the offensive line in this offseason. That doesn't mean I'm not drafting a guy, say, 4th, 5th round. I think I have 2 5th-round picks, maybe 3. I don't mind taking a guy with one of my multiple late-round picks. 5th round, I get that swing tackle. But I have the line. I like Driscoll. I like Herbig. Mo said it. I have Dillard and Mailata battling for the left tackle. The loser becomes the backup. And I'd like to see Dillard win that position. I want Dillard to win the position. I do. As much as I like Jordan Mailata. And look, if Mailata wins a position, it means he's a beast. That's a good thing. But I like Dillard to win that position because Mailata is more versatile, I think. He can play both sides. And Dillard can't. All right, more of your messages. Let me see. What else we got here? Geoff is watching on YouTube. We can use our second pick to get a D back. I have to talk to DeCecco tomorrow more about that. He would know more about the second round and the depth at that corner position, but you need a corner. There's no question about it. You've got to get a corner and maybe 2. A couple of years ago, they tried it. They went Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas. Didn't work. And I was all for the Sidney Jones pick. Jay says we need safety big time. We talked about this on Football at 4 on Tuesday. Go check out that conversation with Andrew DeCecco, but not very good safety draft. It's not a very good safety draft. And you look at this. Let's see. Raphael is watching on YouTube. Eagles value offense more than defense, but you still need defense to win. Yeah, well, I think you're responding to what Mosher said, that they don't value defense as much. I agree. That's why I would advocate taking Parsons or a corner at number 6 because there is a draftable corner, 2 draftable corners at 6. Doesn't happen very often. Let's see what Frank is chiming in. Frank's watching on YouTube. Says these new rights fees deals should raise the cap a lot after 2021. About the caps. Yeah, the Eagles are going to be in a cap problem for this year. They'll be fine moving forward. The cap is a 1-year issue. A lot of people banging on Howie Roseman about the cap problems, but not really all his fault. The pandemic dropped the cap. They wouldn't have been in the cap problems that they are if not for the fact that the pandemic came. Panthers pick 8, not 9. Denver picks 9. Okay, 8 or 9. I still don't think you're getting Pitts there. Eight's right on the vert. It's right there. It's right there. Let me see. I'll bring up the draft order. Let me give you a couple teams I think would take him. And because he's probably the second or third rated player on a lot of teams' boards right now, which means he can go then anywhere from 2 to 10. And I think he's going to fall in that number. All right, I'll get you that coming up on the other side. Todd Rank at 5 o'clock tonight. He's going to join me. We'll do the show at 5. So stick around for that. Copiers Plus provides quality products and services to South Jersey businesses since 1986. Services their specialty online, copiersplus.com.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action. The Flyers are in Pittsburgh to face the Penguins tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. And listen live on the free mobile app.
Hi, I'm Brian Peterson at Made Anew Home Remodeling. The events of the past few months have been something most of us have never known. Let's reflect on some of the good things. Time spent with family, extra meals around the dinner table, playing games in the house, and quality time in our homes. If you need help transforming your space to create more beautiful memories, then reach out to me. Visit madeanewhomeremodeling.com.
To learn more about this and other featured businesses on the New Jersey Business Exchange, visit 973ESPN.com.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-20-20. See terms and conditions at totalwireless.com.
2 chocolate chip muffins coming in. Thank you.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Hey, can someone get that?
Like at Claire's Cafe. To satisfy demand for takeout, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you one of the millions of Americans who experience occasional bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort? Join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up and see how healthy your gut can feel. Align contains a quality probiotic strain developed by gastroenterologists. It adds more good bacteria to your gut to naturally help soothe your occasional digestive upsets with continued daily usage. This is the time to join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up from the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Sign up at alignprobiotics.com.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole in one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary.
You have the choice, whether it's going out for dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique. Those choices help to put money back into your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts a spotlight on local businesses.
First Bank of Sea Isle City, Cape May County's community bank.
Dr. Lyle M. Back for everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to ilovelylback.com.
Egg Harbor independent branch leader at Charles Schwab in the Consumer Square Shopping Plaza.
Filling Marble and Tile Outlet, Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. FillingMarble.com.
Intuitive Women's Health in Summers Point, accepting new patients. Schedule an appointment today at intuitivewomenshealth.net.
East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows services all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses. From Town Square Media, South Jersey.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And don't forget, watch the show live at 97.3 ESPN.com. Good stuff today from all you guys out there. Don't forget, sign up now for the $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Selection Sunday's coming up in 2 weeks. The bracket with the most correct this year will win a $500 golden getaway in Atlantic City. Thanks to our friends at GoldenNuggetSports.com. And the top 20 receive a free bet at GoldenNuggetSports.com. You must be 21 or older to place the bet. Available only in the state of New Jersey. Free bets are for online bets only at the sportsbook. Please see the website for terms and conditions. The $1 Million Bracket. Anybody watch that West Virginia Baylor game yesterday? That was bonkers. Overtime. We lose again. It always happens. I'm used to that. I'm used to the tear my heart out loss as a West Virginia fan. Being a West Virginia fan's like, who's the pro team that always comes up short? Like they're always in the mix, like what the Chiefs used to be. Like who's the pro team that's always in the mix, but they always come up short? They're always good, but can never get over the hump. Who's that team? That's West Virginia. That's what it's like being a West Virginia fan. A couple text messages. Somebody said over on the text board, a Sixers question I wanted to get to. Will the Sixers add a piece at some point? very generic, basic question, but it's fair. Yes, they will add a piece. You will. They will, no doubt. Mike, you could shut down a tight end with a double team. Okay, here's your problem again. You keep calling Pitts a tight end. That's a you problem. If you want to keep calling him a tight end and acting like he's Zach Ertz, that's your fault. But that's not what Pitts will end up being. And if he is, then you're right. If he's not, then you can't. Like, he's not a tight end. He might be classified as a tight end, but not going to be a tight end. If they take Pitts over Jamar Chase, it'll be worse than Whiteside over Metcalf or Rieger over Jefferson. That's not really fair to say, but I'm a fan of Chase. I like Chase. That's the guy that I would take as if at number 6, Jamar Chase was on the board, I'd have a hard time not taking him. But I like Pitts for this team and this offense with the pieces they have, mainly because they don't have a number 1 wide receiver. Now, Chase could be a number 1 wide receiver, so I don't have a problem doing that either. But I think Pitts is a game-changing weapon in the NFL that is not really out there right now. He's not these guys that you're talking about. You keep comparing him to tight ends in this league. He's not one of those guys. That's different. So, yeah, you can keep bringing up all these tight ends and say you could double tight ends. You can't double both Goddard and Pitts. When the Eagles had Goddard and Ertz playing at their best, they were very difficult to defend. The problem was Ertz ended up getting hurt, and so did Goddard this year. They both got hurt. Did you see the game that Goddard had when they both were on the field together at the beginning of the year? Goddard had a monster game. The first game of the season, Dallas Goedert had 8 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. I think that game Ertz ended up getting hurt his ankle, and Goddard ended up getting hurt. So we never really saw those two guys play. I'm going to tell you this. Ertz is a tremendous player. He ain't Kyle Pitts in terms of his athleticism, speed, run after the catch. I mean, we all know if there's one thing that Ertz struggled with was breaking tackles and moving on after the catch. Dallas Goedert, I think, is a little bit better in that regard. But Ertz and Goddard as a tandem, that's what made this Eagles offense really go for a couple of years there. The 2 years that they really played together, Ertz as the main guy, Goddard as the second guy. I think Pitts comes in and takes the role of Ertz, but really, I mean, look, if he turns out to be what you want, he's probably a better player than Zach Ertz. Athletically, physical gifts, doesn't mean he's, one of the things that made Ertz such a good player is he's savvy. He knows kind of where to find himself in the offense. He knows where to kind of just sit in the zone. The problem was he'd catch the ball and go right down. I don't think that's going to happen with Pitts. 609-403-0973, text board, Murphy Brown. Why would we draft a tight end at 6 with no receivers? Again, you're not drafting a tight end. You're drafting a weapon. And they think you're saying they don't have any receivers. That's because the receivers have not been very productive. You draft a player like Pitts to get more production from your receivers because there's less emphasis on the receivers because of these two guys, Goddard and Pitts. Look, I'm not saying that Pitts is my number 1 guy. All I'm saying is if they took him, I wouldn't be pissed off at them. I'd probably still take Chase. Now, the receivers suck no matter what system. Well, that's just asinine to say. I mean, if Jalen Reagor has one-on-one coverage and they're constantly getting him the opportunity to line up against a corner and no doubles because the safety has to worry about Pitts or Goddard, now that receiver doesn't have as much attention on him because he's not the only receiver in the system. We don't know what Reagor is. It's not fair to sit here and say that he stinks. We don't know what he is. I don't know what he is. He had a terrible quarterback this year and he got hurt. He wasn't impressive to me. I wasn't impressed by him. Josh Stewart, yeah. The West Virginia team you're trying to compare them to is the Indiana Pacers. Yeah, they're always good. They disappoint you. Jay Koch, It's coaching that held the receivers back. Well, they've gone through 9 different receivers coaches, something like that. We just had 2 stud tight ends for years, and our offense struggled. I'm sorry, did you miss the Super Bowl year? Because the tight end was the best player on their offense that year. And the next 2 years, their best 2 receivers were both the tight ends. I think you had more reasons why your offense struggled than having 2 stud tight ends. Back with more.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Simmons, no-look pass to the corner. Seth Curry, 3-ball, up and good. Baseline tray. What a dish by Simmons.
The Sixers host the Utah Jazz. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
Every player matters, and finding the right person can make all of the difference. After Dwight Howard chose Orlando over New Jersey, the Nets turned their sights to Portland and completed a trade for small forward Gerald Williams. The trade included sending Mamet Okor, Sean Williams, and a first-round pick to Portland. That first-round pick, the 6th overall, turned into Damian Lillard. Lillard went on to win the Rookie of the Year and is a 5-time NBA All-Star.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
As the basketball season rolls along, teams are already identifying the missing pieces they need to make a championship run. If your business needs some fresh new talent, LinkedIn Jobs can help. Post a job with targeted screening questions, and LinkedIn will quickly get your role in front of qualified candidates. Manage job posts and contact candidates from a single view as functions are streamlined onto one simple screen. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/sports. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle M. Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit ILoveLyleBack.com.
Switch to T-Mobile for Business and get up to 90 days of service free via virtual rebate on your business plan. You get a great deal, the largest 5G network, and first-class benefits like Microsoft 365 on us. It's better for business and only with T-Mobile for Business. Limited time offer. Stop in store for details. Plus taxes and fees for some plans. Virtual Express MasterCard within 8 weeks of receipt of valid submission. Complete port within 60 days. See T-Mobile.com for 5G devices, coverage, and plan details.
If I learned one thing from this great game of baseball, it's that she'll humble you. You think you've got it figured out, you check the standings, and you're in last place again. I'm Eric Rubino, Fantasy Baseball GM, and I can put my team in position to win every single time, but I can't play the games, people. At least Progressive's Name Your Price tool has options based on my budget. It never lets me down, unlike my pitching staff. Amateurs!
Get options based on your budget with Progressive, even if you're not a legend in your own mind. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Allstate now has deeper savings, and deeper savings require deep thoughts and a deep voice, like mine. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise, and save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. As someone once said, saving today is money tomorrow. That's deep.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
2 chocolate chip muffins coming in. Thank you.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Hey, can someone get that?
Like at Claire's Cafe. To satisfy demand for takeout, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Sure thing. We can help you replace those wipers. If yours are squeaking or streaking, it's probably time. We've got a wide selection of wipers that can stand up to any weather, including the right ones for your make and model. We've even got more ways to get them fast, like our next day delivery or free same-day store pickup. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
It's time for some straight talk. Your tax return could look different this year, but you're still going to hear a lot of noise about how to spend it. So when the big carriers tell you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get the $45 unlimited talk, text, and data plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense and tune in to Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A radio home for Philadelphia Flyers hockey. WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
All right, final hour of the show. It's the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. Man, we've got a lot of comments and interaction today. Great stuff from the text message board, 609-403-0973 if you want to keep texting in. Of course, you can always throw your comments if you're watching the show live on our website, 973ESPN.com. Yesterday, we had a pretty fun conversation in the 5 o'clock hour that kind of just went off on its own. Today, it might get to the same direction. Todd Rank is here as he will be contributing with me a little bit more. We're bringing back a little Mike and Todd from time to time here. This new video has made this a lot easier, so you can see the show live, he being on the West. You know, we started doing this segment called East Coast, West Coast a bunch of years ago. You remember that?
Yeah, that was the fun part, right? That was when we were on the East Coast and the West Coast. Even on my travels over there to get on the show, you were checking in with me when I was in Texas and Mississippi. And
well, the premise was, you know, like fans on the East Coast have such a different dynamic of how they view things as fans on the West Coast do, right? Yeah. I mean, that's still the case. And, you know, obviously we ended up doing the show. We had a lot of fun, but this video platform allows us to be basically in the same room so we can do things a lot easier. It helps out. So there's so many different things that we want to get into. So let me ask you this. Tonight, the Sixers play the Jazz. They're the number one teams in the conferences, right? The Jazz are the number one in the West. The Sixers are number one in the East. Would you say that either one of them are the favorites?
To win it all.
Yeah, like if you're saying who's going to win the NBA title, the favorites are, and you got the two teams at the All-Star break, the Sixers and the Jazz are both the number one seed. Would they be your favorites?
You know, I mean, right now I would say probably not. And part of that reasoning for me would be when you look at the West is stacked. And the Jazz are on a hot streak. They certainly are. What have they won? 22 of the last 24, something like that. Unbelievable.
Well, you just said it. The West is stacked. And they are 3.5 games above everybody else.
But here's what I'll say to you. The Lakers, Anthony Davis been out for a while, right? And until you can beat LeBron, now he's got to be fully loaded with his team. I was watching that game last night that they gave away. But I mean, the reality is, you know, as we've watched over the years, we've always kind of been a Jordan guy over LeBron. The more I watch LeBron, the more that he continues to succeed, the more that his body stays up at his level. And the fact that over the last 5 years, he's played more minutes than anybody else in the league.
Well, this is breaking news right here.
Uh-oh.
That the fact that you are saying that you're going to give LeBron credit?
Oh, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Gil, it's not because I'm in LA. I'm not a Lakers guy. I lean more to the Clippers. I'm more Kawhi guy. But the reality is what LeBron has done, I have to give credit to. And you have to understand what he's done over time. They ran through it last year. Now, granted, it was a different type of year, and there's going to be an asterisk next to that title. There's no question. But what he's done, you can't dismiss. And this Jazz team, nice team. But let's be honest.
Right, like I say, Donovan Mitchell, to me, he's like Kyrie Irving being your best player. Like if Donovan Mitchell's the number 2 guy next to LeBron, you win the championship. But if Donovan Mitchell's your number 1 guy, you're the Celtics who were good enough to be the number 1 seed, but not good enough to win the championship.
Agreed. And I love Donovan Mitchell. And you know, back in the day, me and PG, we would talk about Harden, right? Me and PG would say he was a top 5 player. You said he wasn't at that time, but he will become probably, which he did, right?
Yeah, and at that point I said, I don't think he was as recognized. Like, he wasn't as well known. This was going back 5-6 years ago. Yeah, since that time, he has emerged as one of the best scorers in the game, yada, yada, yada. But you go back to when he was like his first or second year in Houston, I don't know that people really knew who he was, or he was like the third guy in Oklahoma City, and like he wasn't at the same. Like now, like I ask you this question tonight: the Sixers are playing the Jazz, all right, and that's games on. The Sixers are playing the Jazz. It's the 1 seed versus the 1 seed, but the game that's on national TV is the Nets against the Rockets because Harden's going against his old team, but the Rockets are horrible, but. Harden, and he has the star power now that I don't know that he had 6-7 years ago. When was that? I don't even remember.
Well, yeah, it was. Well, who you kidding? When I was on the radio with, that was 8 years ago.
That long ago.
It's unbelievable. I was on 2012 to 14. So yeah, 6 to 8 years, or 7 years ago. So,
these listeners still remember that show.
Well, as they should. But no, the other is, again, I'm looking at Donovan Mitchell. I look at this Jazz team. I like their coach. I love Snyder. I like what they've built there. But anybody who looks at that team and thinks they're going to dominate or they're going to come out of the West, I don't think you're going to get too many naysayers outside of Utah that's going to say that. The Clippers, still, Kawhi's injured. He doesn't play. The load management, the whole deal. There's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle in the West. When we look at the East, though, and we look at the Sixers, I told you before this season started, just when we talk on the side, I said, look, I think Doc Rivers is going to be a big piece to this puzzle. And again, the maturation of the team, of the stars, I think Embiid's playing the best basketball he's ever played. I think physically he's in the best shape of his career. And there's a mentality and a mindset to that. So I would give the Sixers a little bit of close credit, but I would still say the Nets because of the 3.
All right,
and
so that's
the
3, right? But they got nothing else. So it's really like this whole dynamic of, are those 3, can they outscore the Sixers? Now, the Sixers play pretty good defense. So that's why this whole dynamic of, do they go out and get Kyle Lowry or Victor Oladipo, which essentially is just adding more firepower, but you're trying to then outscore a team that I don't know that you're going to outscore. So then you just try to add defense or stick with the defense. Like, they have Thibault, who comes off the bench and is tremendous defensively. I like the thought of going out and getting Trevor Ariza as a buyout guy. And we're just going to go and get the best defense we can find. The question, like you remember, so you were not a process fan. You did not like what the Sixers did.
Not at all.
Right. I like that shirt you got on. You go with that Bait House shirt.
Hey, by the way, we should be there in about a week and a half. Unfortunately, we're not going to be there this year.
Or will we?
You may be a little delayed on that arrival.
Right. I mean, I'm looking at those dates. I got my vaccine. I get my second shot coming up. Maybe I go down there for a week or two, a couple days.
Well, wait a minute. Are you considered? What do they consider that? Are you a must-have vaccine guy? Are you like in the realm of a doctor and a nurse? And
I have no idea how I got in. Somebody scheduled for me and said, "Here's your date. You're in." I have no idea.
Wow.
I looked around and I said, "Man, I'm the youngest person here by quite considerable amounts."
I mean, I'm not sure how you pulled that because my dad and sister down in Florida can't even get a sniff of a vaccine.
To be fair, well, they're in Florida. There's a difference. They're running
I know.
Here. To be fair, I know a lot of other people in my age bracket who have also gotten it. So I don't know what the system. I had nothing to do with it. I was given the date. I was told to go. I was there, and I got to say, it was you couldn't ask for a more organized. Like I talk about Chick-fil-A being the most organized place of all. Like if Chick-fil-A ran the country, we wouldn't have any problems. Everybody would like each other. Everybody would be efficient. Chick-fil-A, it was the equivalent of going to a Chick-fil-A drive-through at this vaccine center.
That's great. And you took your first shot. You have a second one still.
Yeah, my second shot's coming up. So after that, maybe I go down to Clearwater for a couple days, couple games.
Now let me ask you this: after the first shot, because I'm not a needle guy. After the first shot,
you didn't feel the needle at all.
And you didn't feel any remnants over the next 24 hours much?
My arm was a little tender.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I can deal with that.
That was it. My arm was like tender, but nothing crazy. Now, I know people who are in my age bracket who have gotten the second one. You know, they had like a tough day, but after that, it kind of went away. But
okay. And they're just giving it, by the way, they're just getting it to the teachers out here in California. So I'm not going to probably get it until maybe June or July, by the way the numbers are. But we'll try.
They're doing that here too. And to be like, how about like, so they're going to let fans at this last night at the Flyers game in Pittsburgh, there were fans, not many, 2,500, but they're going to let 3,100 are going to be going to Flyers and Sixers games, 8,800 to a Phillies game. So would you be ready to go to a game?
Well, yeah, I guess because 8,800, how many does that seat?
About 42, I want to say, for the Phillies, and it's outdoors.
Yeah. No, I'd feel much better rolling to that kind of an environment than going into the Sixers game or something like that.
Now, what was the original question that we were talking about?
I know, right? We went back to the Sixers. I mean, the point was.
Oh, okay. You did not like the process.
Yes.
Hated it. And I told you, and I don't think you still like it. I don't think you're still like, okay, you've kind of sold me on it. But what I told you, if you remember when Embiid played the first year, and I said, dude, this guy's something different, man. He's 7'2". He dominates inside. He shoots threes. He's the defensive. I mean, the problem with him is, keep in mind, he still only played basketball for about 10 years. He was so raw and immature. You were not ready to win a championship with him as your best player. I think now at 26, you are getting close enough that he can be the best player on the best team in the league. I don't know if it's this year, but I think he's reached the point that if the team's good enough, he's good enough to be the best player on the best team.
Well, the interesting part is they're doing it differently than the NBA is leaning towards, right? Yes, he can shoot from the outside, of course, but he's still a big man, and his body and the force on the inside is really his mainstay. We're talking about an NBA that has turned into you go in to do a layup, you shoot it, you pass it out 35 feet for a three-pointer, right? That's the name of the NBA today. So the big man, nobody's going after the big man. You better be an agile big man to be able to play in this league. So it's interesting how the Sixers right now, their main guy is a 7'2" guy. Now the problem, and this is always going to be my issue with the Sixers, and to your point, when we talk about the Nets, you have to talk about Simmons. Now Simmons, defensively great, driving great, passing great. What are teams going to do when it gets to the playoffs? And we know it. They're going to say, here's your open shot. Go ahead and take it.
Well, that's okay. That has changed a little bit because of Seth Curry and Danny Green, and they need another guy because they can't collapse as much because Simmons would drive and kick out, and you got Al Horford clanking up threes. Well, of course the other team is going to let Al Horford or Josh Richardson throw threes up because they're not three-point guys. But what teams are having problems with now is that defensive player, he is out on Curry. Before, he could sag off, and it would cut the lane off for Simmons because he didn't care if Simmons just said, there you go. But now that defender, he's got to kind of slide out towards Curry a little bit because you can't just let Curry sit out there and shoot. He's going to kill you.
Well, but here would be the question then. All these teams shooting so many threes, if you're the Nets, do you allow and say, hey, look, let's let Simmons, if he beats us with a two-pointer every time, let's do it. We're shooting threes. So do you go 2 for 3 and you say, don't leave Curry?
Yeah, well, and the odd part is, like, he scored 42 the night against the Jazz the last time they played, and they didn't have Embiid that night. And you're thinking to yourself, and they ended up losing like 142 to 136 because they shot so many threes in year twos. But are you going to score 142 points against, now you might counter and say, well, Ben Simmons isn't going to score 42 points every single night. They had no Embiid that night. So you put the two of them together. Yeah, maybe they do. So I don't know. I definitely think it's going to be interesting to see. But you're right. Now, you're a betting guy, although I don't think you bet as much anymore.
I've been trying to be good.
If you lived in Jersey, you'd be betting. I can tell you that much. And if you do, use my DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the code 973 for
Probably the best thing I ever did, Gil, was leaving that New Jersey because I'd have been in big trouble.
Ooh, Well, the other night, the Sixers, Simmons, who doesn't make a three in his life, hits the three at the buzzer, pulls up for three and hits it. And that's that bad beat.
And you're talking about how bad of a beat is that? The guy doesn't make any three in his career.
Never. I mean, he never shoots a three, and he dribbles down the court, and he calmly just pulls up with a beautiful stroke, left-handed, swish, nothing but net. Now, here's the interesting part. In all the time that Ben Simmons has shot threes, I think he's made about 80% of them. He's only missed like two of them, like actual threes. It's the ones that he heaves up from like half court at the end that lowers it. But like when he actually just catches, shoots it, I mean, he's got to make like 80% of them.
Well, again, 80% meaning 8 out of 10 over how many years in the league? I mean,
right, exactly. But it's like every time you shoot it, you make it. So what? Like if you go to a game early and watch him, he'll sit in that corner and just make three after three after three after three all night long. And then he gets to the game and he won't shoot it. It's the most bizarre. I mean, it's totally bizarre. I don't get it. But your point is valid on whether or not he possibly will be a problem come playoff time. I don't think that is an unfair question.
But I will say the Sixers are in a better place now, and I wonder what your thoughts are about Seth Curry and how important and how big of a piece he has become on this team. I don't think anybody could have predicted that he was going to play at the level that he has been playing consistently.
Who, Curry?
Yeah.
Well, he adds something the Sixers just simply haven't had is a 3-point. And look, you were in L.A. with when Tobias was with the Clippers. He was very good out there. He hit like 40%. He came here, and he just hasn't shot the three as well. This year, he's at 41%. That's a big difference. From 41% this year, he was shooting 34, 35%. That's a big difference, man.
Yeah. No, it's huge. And again,
what was the problem out there with Doc Rivers?
Well, I don't know that it was a problem. I just think it ran its course, right? I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes the voices, and look, I'm not a big Ty Lue guy, so I don't know. I don't think it's a great replacement. Again, I just don't like that. I don't like that transition. But I just think sometimes, and it happens, you got a great coach, it runs its course, and you got to move on. I would say the same thing with the Cubs with Joe Madden. Right? Joe Madden, a great coach, got him a World Series. After 5 or 6 years, they love him, but that voice, you just need a fresh something. And I think it was a great fit for the Sixers, and I think the Clippers had to let him go, but I don't love the Tyronn Lue pickup.
Crazy, though, like you get these situations where you have a good guy, and like Doug Peterson wins a Super Bowl, and 4 years later, you're not good enough anymore.
Yeah. Look, what have you done for me lately? We know how this works in the professional sports world. And I mean, I think for the Sixers, this was perfect timing to get Doc in there. And I think you're going to have a run this year. This is, if not your best run, it's going to be one of your best runs that you get.
Well, I definitely look, and I don't know where you fit, where we've had kind of these back and forth on text messages. And I don't know where you fit on this. Like, people hated Brett Brown. They thought he was and I said, look, the NBA is a players' league. It's the coach doesn't lose you over the course of the season. You don't lose 30 games or 25 games because your coach is the problem. Like, it's a players' league. You play because your team is not good enough. Right. So Rivers I'm not saying he's not a better presence. To me, he's a better presence than Brown. I don't know that the coaching aspect, it comes into play 5-6 times a year late in the game. I need to play. Maybe he's a better, but for the most part, for me, the NBA, the best, Tyronn Lue won a title. He's not the best coach. He won a title because he had the best player. Frank Vogel, to me, is the best example. And he's out there now.
Yeah.
He was the coach of the Pacers. They had a good team, and he was a good coach. He was the coach of the Magic. They had a lousy team, and he was a lousy coach. And he went to the Lakers, and they had a great team. And guess what? Now he's a great coach.
Right.
You have a good team, you're going to be a good coach. If you have a great team, you're going to be a great coach. And if you have a bad team, guess what? You're going to be a bad coach. So I thought the Brett Brown stuff was it's like, oh, you got Doc Rivers. That's going to be a difference. Like, I don't know that the Sixers still wouldn't be where they are right now if Brett Brown was the coach. They have a better roster. The team's better.
Yeah, but I would go with intangibles. I agree with you to a certain extent. I think it's a good example with Vogel. I think Brett Brown, I'm not as harsh on Brett Brown as maybe some of the fans over there are. But what I would say is there is a mentality that comes with a guy. There's a mystique that comes with a guy. I know Doc hasn't won the big one, but the bottom line is.
And he won it with Boston.
Or I'm sorry, in Boston. But the fact that he didn't win it with the Clippers and he had the roster that people thought he should have. The reality is there is a way you communicate with your players. I'm not saying Brett Brown wasn't able to communicate with his team, but you heard all the infighting and things that were happening with that Sixers team. Sometimes it takes an adult in the room and a presence.
And I will say, Brett being there for 7 years, I think it got old. It
gets stale.
Yeah.
And look, and Brett had to do a lot, Mike. He had to he had to go through a lot of brutal seasons. It wasn't his fault. They basically told him, you're going to be the sacrificial lamb while this team wins 10 games in the year. I mean, it was awful. So I get empathy for Brett.
I miss those 10-win seasons.
Yeah, right.
When we come back, Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And don't forget, you can watch the show live at 97.3ESPN.com. We'll have another special guest, and that special guest is going to join us. And I got a little thing for all three of us to kind of get involved on. This is fun. We're going to do this more often. So stick around. I think that this is going to be very interesting coming up next. You're not going to want to miss it. Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app, and watch the show live at 97.3ESPN.com.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action. The Flyers are in Pittsburgh to face the Penguins tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
When you support your local small businesses, it helps keep your neighbors employed, helps kids save for college, and strengthens your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts local businesses in the spotlight.
Ambient Comfort Heating and Cooling Professionals. AmbientComfortNJ.com.
Filling Marble and Tile Outlet. Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. FillingMarble.com.
Dennisville Fence, serving you since 1952. Be the envy of your neighborhood.
Comfort Now by Bob McAllister. Improve the comfort in your home. Call 609-400-1005 and ask about discounts and rebate incentives. Visit iwantcomfortnow.com.
East Coast Roofing, Siding and Windows. Services all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses. From Town Square Media South Jersey.
Mom, I'm hungry. Popcorn?
We should live stream this.
Already am. With this new plan from Walmart Family Mobile, I get 40 gigabytes of high-speed data for under $40 a month. It's a limited time deal. Oh, watch out, loose ball.
Whoa.
That's double the data with no contract or surprise fees. Yay, buzzer beater. All powered by T-Mobile's nationwide network. Makes me feel like I'm a step ahead. Available at Walmart. Double data ends July 31st, 2021. Hotspot does not double. See terms at myfamilymobile.com. Walmart Family Mobile.
It's such a beautiful night. Look at the stars.
They're amazing. Did you know 20% of stars have planets orbiting them capable of sustaining life?
How did you know that? You must spend a ton of time reading.
Not at all. I use Blinkist.
Blinkist?
Yeah, it's an app that takes key insights from over 4,000 nonfiction bestsellers and gathers them into 15-minute blinks for you to read or listen to. With Blinkist, you can learn the main points of an entire book in just 15 minutes, as opposed to days or weeks.
What kind of books?
Nonfiction books in over 27 categories, from personal development to history, management, investing, philosophy, and more. Books like A Beautiful Mind, The 4-Hour Workweek, Freakonomics, and Sapiens. Blinkist makes it easy to learn about pretty much anything.
Like the stars?
Even the stars.
Right now, radio listeners get 25% off, plus 1 free week when you go to Blinkist.com/live. To get the special offer, go to Blinkist.com/live. That's BLINKIST.com/LIVE.
Heard the good news about COVID-19 vaccines? They're here, but you can do more than wait for your turn. Here's how. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't live with. And it's risky to be indoors with them too. And masks? Well, they protect both the person wearing them and the folks around them. Wear a mask, watch your distance, and make a big difference now.
Learn more about vaccines at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Before you move in and start making a lifetime of memories, there's something you should remember: the value of working with a realtor. A realtor is more than an expert in the field who abides by a code of ethics. A realtor is your neighbor and your ally. Someone who puts your agenda ahead of theirs. Someone who understands your dreams and has the expertise to make them a reality. Finding the right place starts with you and a realtor, and the doors we open together. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
It's crunchy!
Creamy!
Sweet.
Salty.
Nature Valley sweet and salty peanut bars, bursting with crunchy peanuts, dipped in creamy nut butter coating.
Delicious.
Nature Valley.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 973ESPN.com.
All right, 526 Sports Bash Live. Don't forget Sixers Jazz tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. And that game is 7 o'clock tip. It is the Sports Bash Wednesday. Don't forget, coming up on game night tonight, Dave Weinberg, Kevin McCormick live from the center. So, all right, we got another special guest. So now it's Todd and my old producer, Pete G, is in the house. Now, I haven't seen Pete G in like 2 years because we didn't go to spring training last year. And this will be the first time that he has made an appearance on the show, I believe, since he's actually left the show, correct?
What's up, everybody? How we doing? How's South Jersey doing?
Is this the first time you've been on the show since you left the show?
Yes, probably about 5 years, 6 years now.
So Pete G is now producing at Sirius XM Radio for the NASCAR channel. You got a number on that hat?
No, it's a Peloton hat.
Peloton.
You like that? Right. Hey, I go Peloton and I go NASCAR in the last 5 years.
You know what's funny, Gil? I was going to say also he's on the air as a new father, but also
yes.
Since the last time I seen you, Pete, that Peloton's doing you good. You've trimmed it down, boy.
Well, I was going to say,
of course,
that Peloton hat doesn't appear to be much. Ooh.
Well, listen, that Peloton is doing me good, and I suggest both of you guys maybe pony up some dough and get one.
Well,
God, I mean that's unnecessary. I just lost like 65 pounds with no Peloton.
Yeah, you guys are doing it.
It's not all about losing weight now. Come on, it's about the feeling. It's about the mental health as well.
Those people that do the Peloton, it's like its own little group. Like they're their own group. You guys are in your own family.
Say it. Go ahead, say it. The cult, right? I know you want to.
I wouldn't say it. The only problem for me, Gil, is the Peloton won't fit in the size of my apartment out here in LA. That's my problem.
Yeah, I have the same. I'm not kidding. You've been to my house. I don't have any place to put such a thing.
You put it on the patio. That's where you put it.
All right. All winter long, I'm going to put a Peloton out on the patio.
Put a little fire pit next to it.
Well, we have a heater out there, and I put up the vinyl siding, and now the heat stays trapped in that thing.
That's nice. That's real
Very
nice.
nice. Last weekend, actually, Saturday night, we hung out on the porch because we don't want people in the house. So we went outside. I got the heater on. We got the vinyl to keep the heat in there. We watched the game outside on that porch.
And do you guys still having snow over there? No, you're in good shape now.
No, snow. What do you get? Cold. You got snow in where are you in Ashburn?
No, DC.
Oh, you're in DC?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We didn't get much snow. No, not much snow at all. Nope.
All right. So Peachy's got the baby as well. So
yes, Sydney Giordano, born January 10th, 2019.
I like that. Right
2020.
around. I mean, he doesn't know the birth date of his own kid.
Well, I get all these years mixed up, man. Come on.
And what is it? And when's the next one?
You have one kid. I got all these years. It's not like you had some things running around and you forget them all.
And has COVID had you an opportunity, Pete, to work on child number 2?
No,
ooh,
not currently.
You got all
the break. We need a break.
Are you working at home?
Yeah, I've been working from home since I came back from leave. So that was probably about April, May, 2020.
I mean, they built that studio for him right in his house.
That's right. They set me up nice.
Like that.
It's real nice.
All right, so here we go. So I found this list for the two, because we got two. We got a married guy with a kid, and we got the ultimate bachelor, right?
Correct.
So I found this list of the top 10 bachelor habits you need to break before you settle down with a woman.
Now, I should ask you, Gil. I know you have your girlfriend that you live with. You've been with for a while now.
Yeah.
Did you look at these 10 yourself and go, I broke 6 of the 10, but I still have 4?
Well, I'm going to ask the questions, and we can see, like, okay, Peachy is married. I was at his wedding. He's got the kid. I am not married, but I've been with my girl. We lived together for about 3 years now. And Todd, I don't know what to describe you as.
Todd Rank was invited to my wedding, but I don't know. It was a no show.
Couldn't make it up. I was in
no call, no show. That was a no call, no show.
Did he no RSVP? He Pete Thompson'd you. He didn't.
I believe so. I mean, maybe it was a text message, but there was no physical mail.
Extremely poor.
I gave a heartfelt text message. Text message.
He said, "Sorry, I can't make it. I'll see you down in Clearwater."
Oh man.
And his wife, she doesn't forgive me to this day. I know.
Of course, I mean you didn't show. That's a plate.
But we'll describe my situation as, a happy life. That's what we'll consider my.
Okay.
Having a good time.
So number 10, keeping your dirty clothing in a pile. Who's still doing that? Because I have a chair in my room. The chair, my clothes accumulate on this chair.
See, that to me would be more bachelor than me. I have an actual hamper that the clothes go in. There's never dirty clothes in my car.
I have a hamper for the dirty clothes, but sometimes you might wear something and deem it not to have made it to needing to be wash status.
So that's never for me. Once a piece of clothing goes on me, I'm putting that thing in the hamper.
And Pete, you did that before the wife or after the wife?
Before the wife.
You did do that before the wife. Okay.
Yeah. Like you had this pullover, like I have this zipper up on. I don't need to wash this.
Because you got a shirt underneath of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's still contaminated, though. I mean, we're living in a different time now.
But wait a minute. Gil, wouldn't you just put that back on the hanger then?
I mean, I could, but I wore it.
I mean, if you're going to wear it, if you deem it to be clean enough to wear again, then I put that back on the hanger if it's a hanger type of clothing.
So I have that pile on the chair, but not on the floor.
And what does the girlfriend think about that? Is she annoyed that the clothes go on the chair?
She has a similar pile.
Well, that's good.
There you go.
2 chairs designated. Okay.
But hers isn't on a chair. Hers is on the floor because I use the chair.
Oh, my God. So, if it goes on the floor, it's hard.
The chair's on my side of the room.
Now, if it goes on the floor.
This is an interrogation of me. This is supposed to be you.
Why don't you use a hamper? I mean, you could get a hamper for $10.
I have
use a hamper.
Dirty clothes.
No. If her clean clothes go on the floor, they are automatically deemed dirty.
Yes. Because why? Because they're on the floor.
Exactly. So we're going to have a call with your girlfriend, Mike, after this show, because those clothes cannot be deemed to be worn again.
All right. Number 9. Who is still playing video games all weekend?
I'll raise my hand up.
Yeah, I never did, so I don't.
I stopped that a while ago.
You used to play that Call of Duty.
Yeah, that was probably 12 years ago.
Well, that's how long it's been.
Yeah, I haven't been a gamer in quite some time. Now, you got the gamer headset going on there.
Yeah. Who, Todd?
Yeah.
Todd's got Todd's working at NASA.
There's other work purposes. I'm working out here with SpaceX. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, you air traffic control with that headset.
All right, number 8. Using Febreze instead of actually cleaning.
No. I'll do a combination of both. To keep a nice smell, I will use Febreze throughout my apartment. But I will do the heavy clean, usually weekly, if not, then bi-weekly.
Now, what does a heavy clean consist of? Mopping, vacuuming?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get into it. We have one
in the counter.
We got one of those vacuums, oofy things that go around the house and vacuum.
Oh, Roomba.
Oh, yeah. What are those called? Where they got a mind of their own.
Yeah, mine's called Oofy. There's other ones, Roomba or whatever, but we got one of those guys.
Does that genuinely work, Gil?
Yeah.
It really does.
He does a nice job, man. He goes underneath those couches. I mean, it's like a mouse. He can get everywhere somehow.
Doesn't it get caught up in your phone charger and your cords laying around and your dirty clothes on the ground?
Well, it doesn't go in there unless you pick the stuff off the ground. But like you got to take the chairs off the ground and all that stuff if you want it to get underneath the chairs. I mean, it'll go underneath the chairs, but it'll get blocked by, But yeah, it does a nice job. I'm impressed.
And you just put it on during the day while you're gone, and then when you come home, it's done it?
This one, I think there's one that has like an app, and you can set it for a timer, and it'll just go around and find its way back. Ours doesn't do that. Ours is a little bit of a lesser version, if you will. You got to be there. You got to turn it on. But once it goes on, it just takes its mind of its own.
See, I think that would be an ideal purchase for the bachelor because the bachelor usually doesn't like to clean, so then they would have that to do it for him.
All right. Here's number 5. Who cooks?
That'll be my wife.
Ooh.
She cooks.
Now, do you cook or are you going out?
I'm majority. Well, for a few years there, I didn't even have an actual stove, so I had to go out. But currently, I do have a kitchen, so I do like to cook. So I'll say it's 50-50 between cooking and then going out.
Right. We have a nice split. I do a lot of cooking, actually, believe it or not.
What is your favorite thing to cook or your best thing to cook?
I am like, we've been doing the keto, so I'm on learning how to cook all these crazy things. I'm learning how to cook all sorts of different chicken deals and pork deals and this deal. I got all the books and I've got all the flavors and everything. I'm just constantly doing research.
And the girlfriend's pleased by the finality of it, the actual.
So I keep going. Yeah, she hasn't cut me off with the cook, but I actually enjoy doing finding different things and doing it.
Good for you. You wouldn't have when you were younger, though. I can't imagine.
No, but now that it's going to get nicer out that grill, I'll be on that grill, but I won't wear those white shoes, blue end.
I see those Facebook photos of that grill on the grill in the summertime.
All right. What time do you go to bed?
Oh, I'm 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Is that because of your job?
Right. I mean, night shift. I work nights on the NASCAR channel, so I mean 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Right, and you're a late night guy too over there. You two are texting. I keep wondering. I wake up in the morning, but I miss 37 text messages.
I'm on West Coast time with Todd.
Yeah, Gil has gotten old for sure to the listeners because Gil is out before me and PG. And PG, of course, knows that I'm 3 hours delayed. So if I'm sending him a text about an Australian tennis match that's going on live, but it's 4 a.m. on the East Coast, I'm watching it at 1 a.m. over here, and I'm sending him a text message about Djokovic or Nadal.
And guess what? You'll get a response too. You'll always get a response.
I said to my girl, now my girlfriend has met Pete's wife, and she enjoys her. She thinks she's a fantastic. And she said, how does she put up with that? I said, I didn't realize that you're working at that hour. Because I said, he's got a kid and he's up texting at 2 o'clock in the morning. These guys are still going back and forth.
That's right. Baby goes to bed at 7. Lauren goes to bed at 10:30, 11. And I'm up watching TV, watching the Australian Open until 2 a.m.
Yeah, and I don't think, Gil, even if I had a woman in my life, I can't get that out of my system. I'm a late night guy because I'm working a day job now that gets me up pretty early. So I just can't knock it out till about 1.
Well, I was a late nighter, and I'm 44, man.
Those eyes hit the pillow.
They get a little heavy. Let me tell you. You start to people say that, you're like, come on, but.
Does your girl, Gil, go to bed about the same time, a little earlier or a little later?
Well, we usually will be about 11-ish. I might be awake still, but,
Okay.
I'm usually asleep now by midnight-ish.
Okay, it's not too bad, though. That's still pretty late considering.
Yeah. It's definitely different, though, because I used to be up till 2.
Yeah.
I was that guy watching stuff till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, that was back college days, too, back in college days.
Well, of course, back then. All right. So, what was I? Oh, the last one. All right. The last one is who does the design? What's your bedroom decor? Do you have any say in that, PG?
Well, I got a Peloton right behind me in a 1,000 square foot apartment that goes right next to our bed.
Wow. He puts that in the bedroom.
Yep. I got my office set up right in the bedroom as well.
You do the show in the bed, like she sleeps in it while you're doing the show?
Nah, she's out there on the in the den on the couch.
You sleep in 2 different bedrooms.
No. Nope. Well, I must admit, 2 a.m. comes pretty fast, so maybe I do doze off on the couch. And then I come strolling in at like 5:30 in the morning.
You said your office is in your bedroom.
Yeah, but I get off at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, you're done the show at 10. I thought the show started at 10 and went to 1.
No. I go 7 to 10.
No.
I go night shift 7
in the
to 10.
NASCAR world. So Pete G is producing for the NASCAR channel. What is your like grandioso get?
I mean, it's just obscure NASCAR names that maybe you wouldn't know, but I mean, Richard Petty, we've done interviews with. DW, Darrell Waltrip, he's another famous guy in NASCAR as well.
Jimmy Johnson,
he's making the switch over to IndyCar. He retired from NASCAR last year, switched over to IndyCar. He's doing that open wheel stuff now.
You immersed yourself in this world.
I have. And I do know those listeners in South Jersey, a lot of them, they do follow the sport. Martin Truex Jr., he's a Jersey native.
You
NASCAR Cup Series champion.
You would legitimately enjoy watching it.
I do. Sunday afternoons, I'm watching the NASCAR races.
Now, PG, have you gotten one of the newest owners in NASCAR, Mr. Michael Jordan, on your show?
No, he is the white whale. He is what they call.
Now, have you got that Lamonis?
Yes, we did. We have done interviews with Lamonis. He does the truck series that runs on Friday nights. He's the sponsor. He's the main guy with Camping World.
Hold on. So you watched the NASCAR race over the NFL games?
Well, I mean, playoffs, that's a different story. That's a little bit of a tougher thing than right there. But
playoffs
I mean,
are only a couple weeks out of the year. So the Eagles are on and the NASCAR race is on. What are you watching?
I'm switching back and forth. Eagles come on at 1. NASCAR usually comes on at like 3:30. So I switch back and forth.
And NASCAR got you, huh? They got you.
Wow, that's like going down to Florida to that flagship building.
That's a whole nother subject, my friend.
All right.
We could do another 15 minutes on that subject.
Yeah, that's what we'll end it today. That was fun. Right, that Scientologist. I'm going to be down there. I'm going to find him.
Ooh. Dig a little deeper.
All right, boys.
Watch the race this weekend. They're at Vegas on Sunday. Give it a shot.
We'll be sure to tune in.
Great to see all of you. Good reunion, guys.
All right, guys. See you. It's Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. That was my old producer, PG. That was my old co-host, Todd Rank. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We'll do more with those guys throughout when stuff is going on and get into some good conversations, good debates as well. When we come back, we got today's 5.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Simmons, no look pass to the corner. Seth Curry, 3-ball, up and good. Baseline tray. What a dish by Simmons.
The Sixers host the Utah Jazz. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Homeowners, no need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all, so you only have to call one number, 609-641-6262. Jenkins & Sons has been on the job since 1949. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services, one call does it all. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com. That's 609-641-6262 or jenkinsandsons.com.
Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you. Jenkins Plumbing and Heating. We're always here for you.
2 chocolate chip muffins coming in. Thank you.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Hey, can someone get that?
Like at Claire's Cafe. To satisfy demand for takeout, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed, you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
2020 was a challenging year, but things are looking up, including the stock market's performance. But will it last? Hi, I'm Ken Moraif, Senior Advisor at Retirement Planners of America. If you are 50 or older, call us today to schedule a free consultation to learn more about our Invest and Protect strategy that is designed to help mitigate the risk of the stock market. Call us today at 800-375-1159 to schedule your free assessment. That's 800-375-1159.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
As a minimalist, paying less for insurance is more.
Nice place. Is your house a bubble?
It's a dome. I find corners unnecessary.
At Liberty Mutual, that's how we feel about overpaying for insurance.
But I do miss having shelves.
What would you put on them?
Nothing, obviously.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so they're best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
You ready for competition? It's time for 5 questions.
3 ain't enough, man. I need 5. Number 5 will always love you. I got 5 on it. 5 times. Now can you dig?
All right, 5 questions. Time to get ready to wrap up the show. We got 5 takes from today's show. Here we go. This is number 1 from Geoff Mosher today. He was on for Football at 4 about Kyle Pitts.
He's a guy that is such a matchup nightmare. You can throw the ball to him 40 yards. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't, but he's more used to over the middle, 10, 15, 20 yards, and then using that explosion and athleticism to get yards after the catch. He's such a matchup nightmare that you wouldn't want to relegate him just to the X or just to the slot.
That's what Geoff Mosher had to say about Kyle Pitts. Would you take him at number 6?
I'm not against it. Listen, I've been on the page. You kind of agree with me about this. Dave Weinberg has definitely agreed with me about this. I got to go with a blue chip defensive player at that position. I go with one of the cornerbacks if it was my choice. I'm not against taking Kyle Pitts, though, and I think what Mosher said is interesting. He's not just fill in the blank. He's not just tight end. He's not just X. He is a weapon. That's the word I'm using to describe him.
Yeah, to me, I don't know that I'd take him over Jamar Chase if they're both there. But if Chase was gone, I would take him over the other receiving options. Like, to me, Chase would be my one receiver. I would lump Pitts more in with ranking the receivers than I would the other tight ends.
Yeah, the other thing with Pitts is that the interesting thing is if you don't use him right, it's going to blow up in your face. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't use him as an offensive weapon, that's the thing. If you got to draft him and then know what you're going to do with him.
Well, not only that, I like the fact that they already have Goddard here.
Right, you've mentioned that. You like the idea of, you feel that Pitts and Goddard amplify each other.
It makes it a matchup problem of, okay, if I want to take one of these tight ends out, I can't take them both out. I think to me, it is your Gronk Hernandez situation.
Right.
Geoff Mosher.
I did a lot of homework this week on Kyle Pitts. I spoke to 3 different personnel sources around the league. I asked them all about how you would use Kyle Pitts. And I even asked Mike, one of them, if it would make sense to just play him as a full-time X receiver like Mike Evans, because he's kind of built like a Mike Evans. So I asked about that. And I got from one guy that you could do that. Now, you would have to teach him a little bit more of that outside wide receiver technique and pad level, but they do think he could play it. But still, regardless, they don't think it's the best position. It's best to use him as a move piece.
Yeah, so I agree with what Mosher and the scouts were telling him. I don't want to draft him and say, you are my outside X wide receiver, but I like the opportunity that I can put him there if I need to.
Yeah, I love that the scout said, listen, you can compare him to Mike Evans, Calvin Johnson, but he's not those guys. Because at the end of the day, I need Kyle Pitts to be the best version of Kyle Pitts. I don't need Kyle Pitts to be a version of somebody else. And if you watched him at Florida, you saw what he did. He saw that, like, this is a guy who you can move him around the formation. He can catch the balls from different situations. He is an offensive weapon, and you don't want to limit that offensive weapon. You want to maximize what he can do.
Yeah, the fact, too, that this is another clip from today's Football at 4. This is an interesting point that a scout said this about Kyle Pitts.
I asked a couple of these scouts that I've spoken to the last few days how they would, if I asked them to rank the top 4 pass catchers, meaning I want to know where Pitts, his standing among the wide receivers, which you would take. And one guy gave me this ranking. He said Devontae Smith 1, Kyle Pitts 2, Jamar Chase 3, Jalen Waddle 4. So he actually has Pitts higher than Chase and Waddle, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I would go Chase, Pitts, probably Smith, then Waddle. How would you rank them? I like Chase. Tough part with him is he didn't play this year.
So my problem with Chase is, like you said, he didn't play this year, so I don't know how much his game has or hasn't evolved. I just know that in 2019, he was an X-receiver. I understand the idea of putting Pitts ahead of Chase because the idea is that Chase, for as talented as he is, he only is playing one position. He is an X-receiver. Pitts, you can move him all around the formation. He can do different things.
Yeah.
So
and not that I have a problem with Chase only being an X, because I think I have Rieger that would complement him well.
Right. Rieger plays the Y at the slot. He's the guy who moves around the formation too. Now, my problem with Devonta Smith is this. Everyone loves his game, and no one can deny his game on the field. My problem is, can he stay on the field? He would not weigh in at the Senior Bowl. He refuses to take measurables. He won't talk about his weight. That skinny leg frame concerns me, Mike. I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you have a Deshaun Jackson type of situation where...
But he's even smaller than Deshaun was coming out of college.
Yeah, where, he can have groin problems, hamstring issues because of his frame being so small, and he's very muscular.
Also, what if somebody blasts him? You get one good lick on somebody, you can hurt them. You don't have enough padding to take the hit.
And Chase is a big boy.
Chase is a thick 6'1" stud.
Well, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who described him as a faster version of Anquan Bolden.
Good description. He's got those hands.
Yeah, that is a guy that I will take on my team.
Chase is a guy who gets the ball like Anquan Bolden did.
Paul Hudrick inside the Sixers.
The best case scenario is you make this move and you win a championship and then you re-sign Kyle Lowry. That's the obvious best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you make this move, you don't win a championship, and you don't re-sign Kyle Lowry. If that's the case, you still have Joel Embiid, you still have Ben Simmons, you still have Tobias Harris, and then you have Daryl Morey with some cap space.
So how, that's him talking about Lowry, and I'm going back and forth on this because I'd like the trade of okay, there's Lowry, there's Oladipo, there's a guy like Lou Williams. They all have different levels of things you give up. Am I willing to give up less to get a Williams? Is Lowry that much better than Williams that I have to give up that much more? I'm kind of torn on how I feel about the level of the difference between Lowry and Lou.
I personally like Lowry better because I like the fact that he has that side of him that he plays defense. I don't think Lou's as good of a defender, and I think you go into a playoff series with the Nets. I would rather see Lowry, Simmons, Tobias Harris, Embiid, and then fill in the blank out there versus Lou Williams against the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, they're all good. I wouldn't, if Lou Williams I get for, I don't know how much I have to give to get Lou Williams, but if I have to give up minimal to get him, I have no problem if I just said, you know what, I got Lou Williams, and that was my move.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if you got Lou Williams. I'm just saying if you ask my preference, I would prefer Kyle over Lou.
Game night's coming up next. They'll have more from the NFL, the Eagles, the Sixers. Kevin McCormick at 6:40. Dave Weinberg at 6:15. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Watch us on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow. This is the Sports Bash. By the way, Tobias Harris looks like probable tonight. He should go. It's number 1 in the East, Sixers against number 1 in the West, Jazz. And you can only hear it on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey. Have a great night, everybody.
Sign up now for this year's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Registration is underway now at